retention in the calf is going anywhere as like good as that meeting, then that speaks for itself, really. And the biggest thing that we heard when we did have comms for like 1 minute was, we can't do this alone, and you guys are like authorized to go to schools and publicly speak about in public and recruit as well. Like, we need you guys to do this. I'm like, well, am I getting paid to be a recruiter too now, or what?
There's no way I'm tricking school children into following me into this hell.
You're listening to the Art and War podcast with your hosts, Mitch and Nathan. Mitch is a former airborne infantry squad leader who now spends most of his time coaching soccer. Nathan is a professional illustrator and an avid shooter with a couple of years of Canadian military experience. Together, they run the Seaburn art page. Enjoy the show.
So, oh my God, you have the coof, don't you?
No, I don't.
You 100% have the coof.
Okay,
you bring that into my house.
I had COVID like a month ago, and then
now you have it again.
No, and then I had like
now you have it the third time.
I'm the same. I had like, it wasn't COVID, but I had the flu or RSV, which is new COVID, just renamed. But I've had a hack for like 3.5, 4 weeks now.
Yeah, I had it 2 weeks ago. That's what happened.
I want to say I'm glad that the flu is back after having disappeared entirely for 2 years. Just worth saying that. Anyway,
I heard the flu was in a Chinese detention camp.
Hey, it didn't. My buddy had flu Rona, and he like went and got the blood test and everything, and they're like, yeah, you have influenza type B and whatever COVID strain was the flavor of the day.
Oh,
dying from it.
Christ.
Was that because you got vaccinated and they just injected him with everything?
He caught the flu Rona, so it did exist.
So today we have 3 members of the Royal Canadian Military. I'm going to let y'all introduce yourselves because I forget your pseudonames, and I also don't want to oversay what you do and, ruin the whole OPSEC aspect of this. So we're going to go in a circle, starting with Isaac and then Jack, then you.
All right.
So Isaac again. People probably know me from past podcasts. I'm in the Canadian Navy. Fun fact, the whole military is not royal. The Canadian Army doesn't get that designation. Get fucked.
I would say that's a good thing. I think the idea of being part of the royal anything is gay and retarded.
I got a fun bit of trivia once we're done introductions.
I mean, gay and retarded is just the Navy. I'm Jack. I'm what was formerly known as a stoker, now redesignated as a Martech. Been in a few years, seen some things, hate everything. And I'm actually the only enlisted member in this podcast right now, except for Nate, who is a civilian.
Yes.
Well, he was a former NCM.
Yeah.
Oh, well, former NCM, of course. So, yeah, I'm going to be sticking with Nate a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. My name's Mark. I am from the Royal Canadian Air Force. I am one of those types. Yeah. Rare you guys get me on the podcast. I fly tactical cargo, multi-engine aircraft. I'm not going to disclose which one because there's only so few of them that it'll give away my identity. But
there's 2, dude. Yeah. There's 2. That's a 50-50.
Yeah. There's more than 2. Anyway, all things said, I've been in for over 10 years, and I'm probably along the same mindset as everyone else in this room here. So,
yeah. Fun fact, we did basic together. And our soldier qualification.
And me and Mark did aircrew selection together.
Yeah.
I recognized Nathan. Well, I started following the account because my buddy had been listening to pretty much every single podcast since inception. And he's like, hey, man, you guys should listen to the Art and War podcast. You guys will love it. It's a bunch of Canadian military guys, too. And then I started following the account for a couple months. I was like, okay, and then I was like, I recognize this art from somewhere, and it was Art Guy Question Day, and I saw the picture of Nathan up with his face cover over, and I was like, holy shit, that's Nathan. And I was like, yo, what up, dude?
You still remember the hair after like 10 years.
Yeah, I remember the hair from all your stuff that you would post.
Please censor that, censor that, all of that.
Please do not censor that, and also send me pictures.
Censor it.
Yeah,
no, it was a shameful time in my life, and I'm
if
very glad.
If anyone follows Illustration Nathan,
no. I got like 10K requests that I've not accepted, and I don't check.
You have a lot of followers on there, though.
I don't fucking know why. People think I'm cooler than I am. Social media is lame. I haven't.
It's true. Like, even from my sparsely involvement in this podcast, I've had a shit ton of follow requests, and I was just like, I don't accept these people. Not because I have anything against them. It's because I very minimally use social media.
Yeah.
Good luck finding me.
Are we allowed to say your page?
No.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going with that one.
You're definitely on like a bunch of like.
Watch list.
BR,
What?
censor all of that.
You should be
Please, for
promoting
the
it
love of
because
God. I can't wait for this to be 2 hours of BR censor that.
No,
I
please
think
censor
you should promote it because everyone should see your work of art.
that. Aw.
Yes. But
that's
your
what-
identity's not tied to it, is it?
Well, I'm going to be telling a whole bunch of personal stories, and everybody's going to be looking up. Oh, it's him.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Probably a good call not to.
So my fun little.
By the way, when I'm out,
Yes.
So fellas, a little bit of trivia.
Okay.
In a decree from Queen Victoria back in the day, she actually did declare that naval officers were not gentlemen.
what?
What?
In their address, it was to the ladies and gentlemen and officers of the Navy. I like to believe it's because of we were such a debaucherous crowd, but it's because we didn't
Yes,
own land.
still are
It was fucking
debaucherous
awful.
As somebody that has stood many a duty watch watching the wardroom get absolutely shit hammered, yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, you're just jealous that you don't go as hard as us.
I mean, you guys drink because it's fun. We drink because we're massively depressed.
Yeah, but we get the nice of who drinks the most, and we do drink our like way more than the rest of the
But
shit.
you guys don't get charged like we do.
No, it's because we like the charges.
Yeah, exactly.
Christ.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that you guys very recently had to have a meeting regarding morale and retention within the Canadian
no.
military.
There was no morale involved. It was just retention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't touch on retention. They just talked about recruiting. They've given up on us.
Oh.
Anyone that is middle management in the CAF has been given up on.
The biggest takeaway from that entire meeting, only because I couldn't hear anything because the audio cut out and they didn't stop, so 200 people missed it, is that if the retention in the CAF is going anywhere as like good as that meeting, then that speaks for itself, really. And the biggest thing that we heard when we did have comms for like 1 minute was, we can't do this alone, and you guys are like authorized to go to schools and publicly speak about in public and recruit as well. Like, we need you guys to do this. I'm like, well, am I getting paid to be a
there's no
recruiter
way
too
I
now, or
truly-
what?
There's no way I'm tricking school children into following me into this hell.
Come on,
Hell
boy.
no.
Shake my hand.
Won't you shake Apollo's in his hand?
Memes aside, a little background on that meeting. So it was an in-person and virtual event. Now, obviously, they only had so many seats. That, which was weird because it was in the biggest fucking room in the wardroom, so it echoed like a motherfucker. The online portion, the audio was awful. It sounded like you were talking underwater. And then after they tried to fix it to get the presentation up, they muted themselves, which I assume they were doing to just mute everyone that wasn't muted. But they ended up muting the presenter. And clearly no one was really watching the chat. And so...
Or the camera.
Or the camera. And then the presentation froze. And then it went black. So then it had no visual, no audio. They just kept presenting. And then they finally got us in at like for the last minute for when people were asking questions. The best part about it, though, and I told Mark this, is I came for the info, I stayed for the chat. There were
Absolutely.
so many salty people in the chat that it went beyond just the presentation. There was literal commanders shit-talking the presentation and saying how broken the CAF is.
Oh,
And I was saying at that point, that's when I realized it's like the middle of the road people. So like people my rank, Mark's rank, and Jack's rank, they have given up on us. They don't care. They just want to recruit new people to follow their new doctrine and philosophy. But they've completely given up on us.
It's like throw the whole thing out. We're starting from scratch.
But it's also nice to see because Jack sent me an article about the AOP there, about sailors are now leaking information about like how shitty our ships are, how Irving is doing a terrible job with the AOPs, and like all these leaks are starting to come from all over because people are so dissatisfied, and because our senior staff do not give a fuck anymore about us, people don't give a fuck about them, and they're just going to the media being like, this is how it really is.
Oh, 100%.
This is where all your taxpayer dollars are going. They're going to building a ship that came out of the fucking yard and had to go back in immediately because something was broken.
Fun fact, I was a civilian working at Irving when we laid the keel for that thing.
Really?
Yeah, I was, let's just say I did things with materials and engineering stuff before I ended up joining the shit show of the Canadian Armed Forces. And actually, I could have been, in Saudi Arabia, earning a 6-figure salary straight out of college, but instead I am doing what I'm doing. But yeah, I briefly worked for Irving for a little while, and I got to see the absolute fucking gong show that goes on in that yard from like the top down.
And if I may just for 1 second,
Of course.
for those listening who don't know, the AOPS is the Arctic Offshore Patrol Ship.
Yeah, of course.
It's a giant hunk of shit.
What's a shame is that actually they're actually named after a bunch of like real hardcore badasses, and like they're just fucking sad, man.
Yeah, but they named them after people, which is a very Coast Guard thing to do, and we hate the Coast Guard.
We do.
We do.
I mean, we almost ran into.
we do. Wait, like, I didn't get that fucking memo.
I mean, we almost ran into their jetty once on a ship. So
Proper thing. Fuck their jetty.
more like fuck our boat.
Yeah, but take the jetty in the process. It's a win-win all around.
Oh, we almost did. But yeah, no, Irving is just fucking god awful. Like Sophia Gregory Trudeau was supposed to come to the keel laying, and they didn't have the right rust-proof paint for the keel. So what Irving did is they just spent like 2 weeks painting the whole thing this regular old red paint that was not green rated, and then she didn't even fucking show up for the keel laying. So they had to sand it all off and repaint this thing. Now, this thing is bigger than most fucking apartment buildings, for a reference here. Yeah.
So for an Arctic offshore ship, you would expect it to be able to break ice and be able to patrol the Arctic year-round.
Yeah.
The AOPS is only able to patrol the Arctic during the summer months. Can only
June
break
to October.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can only
Not even a half a year.
first year ice, which is I think a max meter thick, which is nothing because it's soft ice in comparison to the rest of it.
Yeah.
And it really has no Arctic capability.
Yeah.
They've put fancy stuff in it. The best part is to really show the Canadian forces in its finest. This Arctic ship gets produced, comes out, its first deployment is to the Caribbean.
Oh, that was beautiful. Mind you, they did some badass shit down in the Caribbean.
Well, that's because they're actually more able to do that than they are able to patrol the Arctic.
Oh, 100%. But the thing is like, so a traditional like actual icebreaker, it's got 2 things that make it an icebreaker. One is like actually 3. It's got like a very thick hull. It's called an ice knife.
Mm-hmm.
The IOPS kind of has a version of it. Not really. It has a bubbler and it has a jet propulsion tubes, right? So what'll happen is the icebreaker will actually, with the jet propulsion tubes, be able to ride on top of the ice and break down on it. The bubbler system will literally just create bubbles to make sure all the ice goes into the back, right? Almost like you're tunneling like a mole. And jet pods are so you can just maneuver around anywhere. We have shaft lines, no bubbler system, and the stabilizers it was actually initially designed for got swapped out for a newer one. And from what I've heard, they're not working very well to stabilize the ship.
It's funny. I was just I spent all day doing nothing in my job because that's what I do now.
Yeah.
Same.
And they figure like that's a necessary position to put me, but whatever, I'm not complaining. So reading articles literally on this stuff, and the first thing like today was literally this conversation we're having, the AOPS and how Irving, it was like the whole like Mark Norman thing and everything. But when the AOPS
God
got
bless that man.
selected as the ship, the senators actually were concerned about it because just like Isaac had said, it can only go in a meter of ice, operate in the Arctic from June to October, and a BC ferry can literally outrun it. It is that slow.
Oh yeah.
And it has
Holy
one
shit.
25 mil cannon on it, and we were supposed to get 5 of them, and then they upped it to 6, and they're making 2 more or 3 more for the Coast Guard. So
What's
with,
funny
like, all
enough, the
the
Coast Guard
delays.
didn't want. The Coast Guard don't want them.
I know, right? And it can't go up into the Arctic right now without a Coast Guard escort. So
Wait, what?
Yeah.
yeah, well that was something that was mentioned in the article. And so this thing comes off the line. It's got a warranty of 1 year, but like all the ships are coming off with things not completed and broken, and it's not even serviceable coming off the line. So by the time they get this thing working and serviceable, they take it up on their first Arctic expedition, and it's got 4 diesel generators. 2 of them went down and broke on its first sail, and Irving will not cover it because it's already been outside a year for the first one, the Harry DeWolf.
And Irving has a real sneaky play of they try to fucking push the ship off onto the Navy as fast as possible.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
And Harry DeWolf got denied twice before the Navy finally accepted it, and they really shouldn't have.
So this latest one is 2.5 months early, and I know a buddy who works at Irving Shipyard as well, and he's like, yeah, we really grinded our asses off to get this one out early. I'm like, yeah, but half the shit isn't even working on it. So they're trying to do the same thing. It'll go a year. Everything will be broke, and then it'll be on the Royal Canadian Navy to cover the costs and fix it, even though it's on like a maiden voyage.
Well, it kind of goes with this whole trend of the entire Canadian military. And I think this from top to bottom. It's basically a giant make-work project.
Oh,
Correct.
yeah.
Cyclones are a prime example of that.
Oh,
don't
yeah.
Get me fucking started on those.
I'm starting you.
Before we get into Cyclones, because I have a lot to say about those as well.
I like all three of you.
So before we go into shifting target to Air Force here, I just want to explain something. So when I say I hate the Coast Guard, that's just friendly banter between us and the Coast Guard. What really actually sucks is that we don't work more closely with the Coast Guard on a lot of things.
Yeah, I would like
Example. So there are buoys out in the water, and when I say buoys, I mean like buoys. A lot of people say the correct pronunciation is buoys. How do you spell buoy? Fuck you, because I know a lot of people are gonna fucking harp on that. Anyways, but there's a lot of them out there that for us to recover them for our Defense Research Center, we have to send out a little MCDV with this like jury rig crane on the back of it and do a lot of sketchy fucking maneuvering to get this shit on board or deploy it, either or. When really what we could do is ask the Coast Guard, who literally has ships designed to launch and recover them, to go out and do it in like a fraction of the time. But we don't coordinate and we don't work with them ever. And it just creates all this work when at the end of the day, it's fucking same team. Everyone is the same team and we just refuse to work with each other.
Whoa. We are the Canadian Armed Forces and we know better than everybody.
I remember the bullshit that I was fed when I was in, just about how like superior our training was and our gear and everything else. It's like, well, there's not very many of us, but we're better trained than a Marine. It's like,
I'd argue.
Yeah, no, I'd argue literally all of it.
If you took one of our infantryers and put him up against a Marine, I think a Marine would end him and then probably eat him.
Dude, they just plow it through its entire fucking squad.
We need what's his nuts from Bite the Bullet Back.
Yeah,
He'll explain to us.
You know what? I don't like, from my own experience. So we're not like better trained or anything like that. We're just way more used to making things work out of actually fucking nothing.
See, I disagree. There was a period of time when we actually spent a lot of because of what we had, we spent a lot more time focusing on training.
Yeah.
Actually making sure that our guys were capable.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of fucked off and shortened training, reduced training, and really, really dumbed it down. And that's a problem.
Oh, don't get me started on that, man.
Hey, put your gun away. Zip your pants up. Come on, man.
He's holding a deadly
Function
weapon.
check, baby.
What,
yeah,
2 pumps and
just
you're done?
to touch on that subject, it's not so much as we're better trained. The Canadian military obviously is super short-staffed compared to our brothers down south. So the difference with us and them is that an American military is trained to do one job specifically, and they do not go out of their lanes, right? Whereas Canadians are kind of taught to do like their main job and a little bit of everything. For instance, in the cargo world, loadmasters in Canada can operate heavy machinery, so they can operate the K-loaders and the forklifts and everything, and they can build the pallets and have them properly weighed and be certified to put them on an aircraft. Someone in the States, a loadmaster would not be certified on all that equipment, because in Canada they actually have to go do that job for 4 years before they can become a loadmaster. Whereas they can go fresh into loadmaster right off the street, and that's all they learn. And then whoever loads the aircraft, like that's literally their job. They build pallets and load the aircraft, and they don't touch anything like a loadmaster does.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
That is also another thing, which is what kind of holds us back. Like part of our retention thing right now is people are joining, and it's like 5-6 years before you even get qualified, before you can even touch an operational squadron or unit.
Well, as what one of the guys said during the retention brief, that goes to training, you don't even get to work on the equipment you're supposed to be trained on. They'll tell you go to your operational unit, you'll train there, which is like, what's the point of the training then if you're not going to be training on the equipment you're using?
Yeah, and then a lot of the time we're so busy that they can't even afford to train you, so they just grab the same old guy like over and over again and have you do the bitch jobs, and then you get tired doing the bitch jobs, and he gets tired of doing the same thing over and over again, and you're both like, fuck this, I'm getting out.
Exactly.
I've heard a lot of stories from different friends and otherwise about people being unable to get training done or even be promoted simply because of the lack of trainers. A lot of the, quote, middle management, unquote, are just fucking leaving.
There is not enough middle management, which, like, when I say middle management, I mean like just regular like captains, lieutenant navies, right? Like these are the guys, like they do their tour for 4 or 5 years, and then they're supposed to go train new guys. But we are so short of people that we are keeping them in there, or we're sending them to fill desk jobs and other administrative jobs, that we're so tight on having qualified people to train that the focus of resources is to create more instructors. And then in the future we can train these guys, but it's just creating bottlenecks and backlogs. Like in the pilot world, you get your basic training done within the first 6 months, and then you're sitting about a year and a half before you even get on phase 1, which is just another selection course, and then it's about a 1.5 to 2 year wait just before you even do your basic flying training, and then you got to wait another year for phase 3, and then some of these squadrons that are accepting the wing pilots, like the Cyclone, if we're going to get into that, is a 3 to 4 year wait before you even touch a Cyclone. So I have buddies who are pretty much done their first terms of service, and they have not even touched the aircraft yet.
Yeah. I'll pile on with that one. So I have a family member who was a Sea King pilot, and then when he became a major, and then he was getting closer to retirement, he was doing stuff with sea training, fleet, all that. What he wanted to do and what he proposed to his career manager was, I would like to get qualified on the Cyclone to be an instructor. He doesn't want to deploy. He didn't want to do that because he was older. And, he was happy where he was. But he's like, he wanted to fly. He's like, train me on the Cyclone. I'll stay at the training squadron in Shearwater, and I will just train dudes. And then, boom, you got a major in the training position. And they're like, no, we want to send you to Ottawa.
Oh,
While at the same time saying, God damn, we don't have enough people to train guys on this new helicopter. It's like, well, you lost him because he said, well, fuck it, I guess I'm getting out. And it's like, for what? Now he flies with the cadets, so he still gets to fly. But it was like, you had a guy right there willing to stay on, keep doing the job that you critically needed people for, but you lost him because of fucking, I don't know.
Bureaucratic ineptitude.
Yeah, bang on, Nathan.
And that's happening everywhere because, like, guys want to be useful and they want to fill these positions, but the career managers, like, a lot of time they have maybe like 8, 9, 10 months in the job, so they don't even have time a lot of time to just get oriented on what's going on, and then they get shipped out, and it's just they just start grabbing people and throwing them into places, and that pisses everybody off a lot of the time because, well, what about my family situation? What about my experience level? What about my preferences? What about, my career and all that kind of stuff? And you just keep getting told what to do. And if you try to like push back, you're almost like blacklisted a lot of the time. Yeah. And that's what goes with anything, not just like,
we just don't have a say at the end of the day.
No.
Like, we hear your concerns, and we really care about you, but sorry, man, here you go. You're going there anyway.
How's it going, lads and ladies? BR and Nathan here to take a quick break to tell you about our Patreon. Not only do we want to continue improving the quality of what we can do here on Art and War, but we want to push what we do all over at Seaburn Art, from the guides to pursuing video content and keeping us warm during another winter of illness and death, and the Patreon helps us get after it.
But what's in it for you? Our Patreon subscribers enjoy 5 different tiers of exclusive perks, ranging from all the content we'd post on a pre-Zuckerberg Instagram, downloadable high-resolution guides, targets such as Redcoat Skinwalkers, John Harvey Kellogg, seasonal targets, and more. Behind-the-scenes info like my personal art, introducing all new exclusive mini-podcast episodes, and at our highest tier, get monthly art commissions created by yours truly.
You can find our Patreon via the link in this episode's description, at patreon.com/SeaburnArt, or in the Seaburn Art page's bio on Instagram.
This episode was brought to you by AWS, Advanced Warfighting Solutions.
We use the shit out of their gear here at Art and War.
Everything's made in North Carolina, and they make everything.
Everything.
I'm a big fan of their SMU War Belt, the snack pack, their assault pack, their plate carrier, kind of a big fan of everything. And they've been around for a long time with a lot of hard-use kit.
Overseas and here at home.
Sorry, I'm just reattaching my phone. Sorry, it'd come loose. This is my fidget spinner, okay?
I know. AWS is our longest running sponsor, and they've helped us do a little bit of everything here at Art and War, from keeping the guides coming out by providing Nathan a new iPad, as well as chucking gear our way so we can get out there on the range.
Tough as hell gear so they can help us go LARP in the woods.
Yep, my assault pack comes out with me every time I'm in the woods. If you want to pick up a one-and-done Molly pistol belt, look no further than the AWS SMU belt. Use code ARTandWar10 for $10 off. We get no kickbacks, you just save money. Link to their site down in the description and in the Seaburn art page's bio. Thanks for listening. Now let's get back to the show.
A story that you told me, Isaac, I remember a while ago, you had someone on your ship who hadn't seen his girlfriend in a year and a half.
Oh, yeah. So this is actually a good buddy of mine. So it wasn't his girlfriend. It was his brand new wife, actually.
Oh, worse.
Anyways, they're both military personnel, both separated because they were at different bases. One was Navy, one was Air Force. Anyways, he finally gets a period to be home with his new wife. And, he's on a ship that's low readiness. I forget if it was coming in or going out of the ditch, which means that putting all the equipment back on or taking all the equipment off. Either way, he wasn't sailing. He got called into his commander's office, and they said to him, it's like, we want you to deploy for 6 months on this ship on the West Coast, and you'd fly out in 2 days.
What?
And he said, no. He's like, no, I've done all this deployment on my ship. Now I'm finally home, get to spend time with my wife. My wife worked out a deal with her unit that she can work remotely from Halifax, and anything she needs to do the base, she can do through the actual base in Halifax. And the commander of the fleet was like, get him off that ship, blah, blah, blah. He blacklisted him. The irony of that is that because they were so short of his position, he got put back on the ship.
Oh,
But it was like that type of fucking vendetta against people who want to spend time with their families, who have been sailing nonstop, it's got to stop.
not even just vendetta against spending time with your families, medical leave, anything personal. If you're not pretty much killing yourself for whatever, you're a piece of shit and you should just die in a hole pretty much.
Yeah. I don't know about your guys' careers or professions rather. I know in mine, for my next course, before they used to run 2 courses and it was 36 people per course.
Yeah.
Now they're running one. They used to run 1 course with just 36 people. Now they're only running 1 course with 24 people.
Oh.
It's just the distance to get onto that course just keeps getting further and further away because soon it's going to be 1 course of 12 people.
Oh no, for us, what they instead do is they keep adding just stupid shit you have to do, because with the Martech trade, we amalgamated 3 other trades into one because hey, you guys all do turn wrench, spark wire, hit pipe,
Unplug shitter.
Yeah, unplug
That'll
shitter.
fix the personnel shortage.
You guys can all do that, and we're just no, these are highly technical trades, and we all can't do each other's job. And they're like, well, you're doing everybody's job.
See, it could be done if the ships were designed to have less people, which they are not.
Yeah, and they're actually getting worse, and we need more technical knowledge to keep them going. But we just don't have that.
Yeah. How short-staffed are you guys again? By this, I mean the whole military. It's 20%.
So I can tell you for the East Coast, I can't tell you for the whole Navy, but I know for the military in general, it's 10,000 people short.
Yeah.
Our recruitment plan right now is looking like the worst case scenario where we're only getting 50% of what we actually need to maintain our numbers per year.
Last year we hit 25% of our recruitment, and we lose on average on the past decade. We've lost 2.7% every year. Last year it was upped to 3.1, 3.2%, which equals about 6,900 people left, and we need to make minimum that just to keep our numbers, right? Well, we only hit 25% of that last year. Why everything is.
And so I can say for the East Coast fleet, right now we only have 26% of our sailors are unfit to sail.
Yeah.
And when I say unfit, that does include being on courses, MATA leave, and what have you, but it's still a quarter of our force is unable to sail.
And for my trade, I think the recruitment target last year was 137 or something like that. I think we got 20. Yeah. And pretty much everybody I know that is anyway halfway decent at their job is getting out right now.
There's also this weird refusal to retire ships. The Canadian Navy can't fathom having to get rid of a ship or put a ship to bed. we got informed that our frigates, and for my listeners who don't know Navy, a warship hull is only good really max 30 years. And that's due to, unlike, say, a big container ship, which is just going straight line from point A to point B, warships put an extraordinarily large amount of force on the hulls when they maneuver. And we maneuver them hard for training, drills, combat, what have you.
We sailed them through fucking storms too.
Yeah. But
Yeah, like
we've
the
been informed
MCDVs.
we've been informed that they we've been informed that they want to send the frigates to, or keep the frigates in service until 2050, which would put the warships at 60 years old. 60 years in the water, which is unfathomable because that is double the age. And it's not like our old ships, which made it to 45, because those had really thick steel hulls. The newer ones, to make them lighter and faster, they had thinner hulls. So,
Opposite materials.
but it's like, it was also like, why can't we start putting some ships to bed to help man the other ships? So retire a couple frigates, retire a few MCDVs, what have you.
And we could steal parts off those because our ships are so old, a lot of parts just aren't fucking made anymore.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's actually kind of a joke. Like, okay, who is deploying? Okay, we're going to go steal parts from these ships to make that ship work. And then when that ship goes in the ditch, okay, we're going to steal parts back off that ship to make these ships
So
work.
that's also a Canadian procurement problem, because whenever we procure anything, we only procure the parts for the ships we have. We never procure spares.
No.
And that is fucking foolish that we never do, because why wouldn't you have spare parts? And I get it, it's expensive, like the close-in weapon system, the gun. Funny enough, our harpoons belong to the United States.
Yeah, we lease them.
Dude, the harpoons are cool, though, because whenever you fire one, it sends a signal to, I think it's Lockheed that makes them, and it automatically starts producing a new one.
Nah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's a good business model.
It is. So it's just like they know when we fire them, and as soon as they're fired, it's like their factory gets a message to build another one.
Yeah,
I'm
boom, right off the assembly line.
And then the Lockheed Martin execs are just jumping up, dancing, we getting paid today.
Nancy Pelosi invests a little more into Lockheed Martin every time a missile goes.
I feel her investments are she's like a lich, except for instead of souls, it's just investments, and that's what keeps her alive, but looking like a skeleton.
And the
luckiest coach investor I've ever met.
That's why she's probably involved in the Red Cross and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Good access to blood.
She's not a vampire. She's just.
I want to touch back on the earlier conversation before we get off of talking about ships. One of the articles I was going on about is like our procurement system is so bad because everything always goes into overrun and overcost, right? Like for example, the AOPS ships. So the combat surface combatant that Irving is, I believe it's Irving's supposed to get the contract for those as well, right?
Unfortunately,
and I think Davies might be getting something, or one of the.
It depends on how many they keep.
Yeah.
So the news reported that it was going to be so many $1 billion for the upkeep of the ships and to retire them and get rid of them after their 45 years service, right? So someone broke that down and took all the costs away, and they found that each surface combatant ship is going to cost about $3.9 billion just to produce a ship and get it to the military. But then you compare that to the newest aircraft carriers that the Brits made, and they paid $4.5 billion for each aircraft carrier. I think they only made one or two or whatever. But why are we paying almost as much as a whole aircraft carrier for one of these ships? It doesn't make sense. Obviously, there's a flaw in the system there.
Well, I think it's the same kind of logic that makes officer mess hall fucking chairs cost $5,000 each, or clipboards cost $200 each in a hospital. It's just bureaucratic ineptitude.
Well, it's also along the lines of Irving hasn't built a ship in so many years, right? So then they put all that money into revamping their shipbuilding. And Canada does it stupid, where we'll build a series of ships and then we'll stop. Unlike the U.S. that is constantly producing ships, or Korean shipyards, British shipyards, what have you, that are constantly building new ships. So they have the expertise, they have the personnel, and they have a way of streamlining it. So that's
just
another
goes to show how broken our procurement system is. So it has to be Canadian. It's why can't we buy something that is already pre-built? Just like our Cyclone, we had to take a Canadian civilian helicopter, which is a great helicopter on its own, but as soon as you load it up with all this equipment, you Canadian Canadianize it into a military platform, it just becomes an absolute nightmare of a platform. And then when it's abroad and something breaks, you can't use the STANAG agreement with NATO to get the parts. You have to get them shipped from Canada, and usually half those parts don't even exist.
So it's the same thing with the AOPS, actually. So the AOPS are actually based on a Norwegian design, which is actually a pretty cool design, but it's lighter, faster, better armed, and costs 10% of what the AOPS did.
Yep.
For some reason, we have in that ship, we have a diesel electric propulsion system. So instead of going with a standard generator that would be available off the line, we had a massive, like, Frankenstein high voltage one custom made, because I guess fuck you, we're Canada, and we are. It's like watching a hipster spend money on a car. It's not even a nice car, but like they just keep it going, and you see their whole fucking paycheck just disappear, and they can't even fucking drive it.
Well, I think I talked about this on the cast, but the irony of the Cyclone was they picked the frame, the S92 frame, I think it is.
Yeah.
They picked that frame to be the base of the Cyclone because it was a already proven frame. But as soon as they cut the tail to put the folding system in, it decertified the whole frame.
Yeah.
So it's like the whole purpose of picking a pre-made frame was to get around that, and we didn't. And it's like, instead of, like our allies trying to pawn off their Black Hawks and other stuff to us because, hey, we're really close and we use a lot of the same stuff. How about you have some of our helicopters? We were like, nah, we're good. Or, I know this like makes liberals curl up and cry. Buy the EH-101 Merlin. I know the Jean Chrétien canceled it, but it's like, it's a proven frame in the British Navy, in the Royal Navy. They're like, buy that one. Because it's the exact same.
Explain it to the vast majority of people who have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Okay, so our Cyclone is a relatively large utility helicopter that goes onto ships. It's bigger than what you think would fit on a ship, because that's kind of the Canadian doctrine, is that we found a way to put these really big helicopters on little small ships. But we spent a ludicrous amount of money to take a proven frame. Then it got decertified because we cut the tail, because the tail has to fold.
You mean the tails that split into a bunch of cracks and can't play?
We'll get to that. And then we spent a bunch of money putting all this avionics and other stuff in it. Fun fact: I heard we paid more to remove the capability of firing Hellfires off of them.
What?
Yeah, apparently the torpedo launchers could also fit harpoon or Hellfires, and Canada paid to remove that system.
Why?
Because they didn't want it. But I'm like, we're allied with the U.S., and if we ever needed to be a missile truck, hey,
we're not aggressive, and we're peacekeepers.
So it's a PR thing.
Anyways,
we don't like having weapons on our stuff.
But anyways,
we're here to maintain our safe space.
What we could do is buy the EH-101, which is virtually the same sized helicopter. Actually, it's the same helicopter as our search and rescue helicopter, the Cormorant. So it's about the same size as the Cyclone, and it does the exact same job that the Cyclone does in the Royal Navy, which is anti-submarine warfare and general kind of ship-to-ship duties. But we didn't. We went with the Cyclone instead of buying the proven frame. Now, that being said, back in like the 90s, we spent nearly half of what it would have cost to buy new helicopters to cancel the project, which was for those EH-101s, because the government, no other reason than they said they would cancel that project. No rhyme or reason. And then we got stuck with the Sea Kings, which God bless them, they're great helicopters when they fly, but we got stuck with them until they were in their 50s. Then the F-35.
More than that, they were over 60.
Yes.
It was so old you could fly the same aircraft your grandfather flew.
What I mean by that, they were in our service for 50 years. The helicopter frames were older. But yes, like the F-35, Justin Trudeau came out, said that they were going to stop the F-35 project. So we went through another 4 or 5 years of this competition. Guess what aircraft we're buying now? The F-35.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
So this one really strikes home with me. So we paid a crazy fine for canceling the F-35 project, which would have been cheaper than it was now back in 2015. Then we spent millions of dollars buying the F-18 Charlies from Australia, which had none of the same Canadian kit on it. So we just bought airframes. We got them to Canada. Then we spent millions of more dollars re-kitting them to the Canadian standard just to buy F-35s again. So they canceled the F-35, and then they probably spent just as much money in fines and rebuilding these aircraft as like a stopgap than it would have been to just buy the F-35 in the first place. And now we're paying way more of the price that it would have been if we had just bought them in the first place, because the price of them has gone up now, obviously, with inflation. It's infuriating. And to touch back on like the whole Chrétien government getting rid of the EH-101s there, or the 109s, the Corms, they were supposed to replace the Labrador back in the 90s, and then they said like, oh, when we get in, we're going to cancel that silly thing because it costs too much, and we're going to save the Canadian taxpayer. Well, later that year, a Labrador crashed due to maintenance, and the entire crew died on it, and like all those deaths were on the Chrétien government. And what did they do? A few years later, the next government got in, like, okay, we're finally replacing this thing.
I got a bit of a spicy take.
Shoot.
I think procurement is more of a threat to Canadian Armed Forces members in peacetime than literally anything else.
Yeah, I buy that.
I mean,
I kind of say the lack of procurement.
No, but I mean, think about it. Like, I mean, I hate to bring it up. The cyclone crash back in 2020, the submarine fires when they're coming across the Atlantic because we bought them secondhand from the British, the Labrador.
So, if I may just,
of course.
So our submarines are old Royal Navy submarines that were decrepit because they were originally diesel electric, and they were going to do a run of diesel electric submarines. The British then decided to go with nuclear, and so they put the 4 that were already built aside, built the rest of their class as nuclear boats, which I think are a little bit longer, and then Canada bought them like 20 some years later, and they hadn't really they've been maintained but not well.
Yeah.
I've heard the nightmares.
So the HAR now, and I just want to point this out, the HAR now, 2 other nations have had subs of a similar vintage go down and never come back up.
Oh, with the Indonesian subs?
And the Argentinian.
Oh,
both same vintage, both diesel electric. And I think right now that kind of spooked the Canadian government, because what happens if this happens, right? They've been trying to keep these fucking subs going for so long, and all the money that has been invested in them, that it would have been cheaper to buy new subs by now. And what happens when you lose all hands because your government just has shown negligence to your Navy?
I mean, I'm just waiting for the incidents. I mean, I think everybody, especially like in my world, is because we see the state of these ships. We hear the stories of like them coming back across the pond. My last deployment, our P2s actually made sure that we didn't find out.
What is an RP2?
My petty officers. We actually had the whole flexing way out of where it should have been in certain places in the engine rooms, and they actually made sure not to tell us because we were hitting bad sea states and we'd already come back from like a really nasty fire. So it wasn't until I pulled into port that I was standing beside one of my POs, and he's like, "Okay, we didn't want to tell you this, but here it is. We didn't know if we would make it back across."
And Irving has shared the same kind of sentiment, where they're starting to get worried about their frigates breaking, right? Not because they particularly care about the crew, but the more frigates they have, the more money they make refitting them.
Yeah.
So they're worried about one of their cash cows breaking. Hey, Mark, remember when the Air Force had to take parts for their airframes from museums?
Oh, yeah. I'll touch on that for a second. I just wanted to say, like, with the procurement of the subs, the HMCS Chicoutimi was the first of the 4 submarines that we bought from the Royal Navy. And on its maiden voyage, sailing it back to Canada, it had a bad fire on it that caused severe damage, and it killed one of the crew members.
Oh, yeah, that's the one I was referring to, yeah.
So that just goes to show, like, why Canada loves buying old pieces of shit from other countries just to get a deal with shitty procurement.
But not where it counts.
No.
Like, we get offered deals all the time from the States, and we won't take them. We won't fucking take them.
So
we're trying to be the Swedes. We're trying to be.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, we're trying to be the Swedes, but instead of hitting up the discount store, we're hitting up the garage sale.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And like for our armored corps, right? Like we can barely keep what Leopard tanks we have running. I've been told that in the United States, we cross-train with them, and they actually have a battalion's worth of Abrams sitting there for Canada should we ever need them. Because in the U.S., it's cheaper just to keep producing them than to shut the plant down.
And meanwhile, we have the TAP Vs that catch fire and roll over. And
TAP Vs are, I saw the best thing about the TAP V. It's like, what's my purpose? You were built too late for the last war, and you're going to be dead instantly in the next war.
What's my purpose? So instead of the Cormorant as like a ship helicopter, we should have bought Blackhawks for the Army, the Navy, and search and rescue.
Listen here, you swine. They're called Seahawks in the Navy.
Yeah.
Same platform. You know what I'm saying, right? But it would make sense. Like we have all these bottlenecks in training, right? Like it would make so much sense if we had the same helicopter platform with like a few different systems, obviously for each type of role it's performing in across the entire Royal Canadian Air Force. So someone who's sick and tired of flying TAC Hell and they need a break from the Army life can go to search and rescue with like a very short conversion of a couple flights and then be a first officer and then make a quick upgrade to that fleet. And then same with like Navy pilots, like any of the Sea King / Cyclone pilots, like they get sick and tired of deploying all the time, right? And to be able to move from the Navy to like a search and rescue gig would be like a game changer in retaining these experienced pilots.
Just a question: have any of you guys seen the HBO miniseries about Chernobyl?
Yes.
No, I've heard it's good though.
Yeah, well, you're familiar with all the things that led up to the Chernobyl disaster happening.
I know where you're going, and please keep going. I love this.
Yeah. So Chernobyl was basically a disaster of bureaucracy. Everyone knew that things were wrong. No one wanted to say anything. There were like little problems on little problems and little problems stacked up by bureaucracy to the point of like, oh, well, we're going to do these tests. We're going to, bury all the information about the possible critical failures of our system because we have to get it done. Just middle management protecting themselves, and no one wants to answer and say, oh, shit. This ship is about to fail. This nuclear reactor is built really unsafely and can overload if exposed to these particular conditions. This diesel electric sub is prone to having fires. One of these days it might just go out and we'll never hear about it again, and the entire crew will just fucking die.
See,
that's what I'm expecting to happen.
And the sad part is, it's not just the subs anymore. Like the frigates could go out and just not come back.
Yeah.
Hell, the MCVs almost didn't come back last time.
The MCVs are rugged. They'll fucking fight through anything.
They'll persevere.
I have my faith in the MCVs.
Wasn't it like one that just came back?
I love boats too, but they got fucked up last time.
Yep.
Well, the two that came back, one of them apparently lost a bunch of comms equipment overboard and had some structural damage.
Yeah, that's just fucking hit by a wave. It happens. It's like when you're downtown and drinking and someone just punches you out. You got to get back up.
Like, they were literally shitting over the side because all of their black butter pipes had burst.
Yeah, I heard that. That is a nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
The literal name of the ship is Maritime Coastal Defense Vessel. Like it was not
Why is it in the
to go on expeditionary events across the world, right? Like they had a rough sail, I heard.
Before we get away from it, so the Chernobyl thing, like when it lays out like what happened in the control room. Inexperienced personnel, the dickhead senior guy that's getting pushed back from management just to get things done, and everything goes to hell.
MCR.
Yeah, like if I like squint really hard, I think I've seen that happen in the machinery control room at least 3 fucking times.
The one other thing on Chernobyl, my cousin said this, and I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
It's like only in the Soviet Union could Chernobyl have happened due to the inadequacies of the bureaucracy. But only in the Soviet Union could the response to fucking fix the problem happen because of their lack of care for life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
If the whole Ukraine war shows you anything, nothing's changed.
There is one procurement victory right now, though.
What's that?
The Canadian military is getting new pistols.
Thank fuck.
Or are we getting P320s?
The P320s.
Sing out. This is a Glock neighborhood.
But the best part is like they just said like the Army's getting them. I'm like, fuck off. Just get them for everyone. Because everyone fucking
Seriously.
needs them.
I have a better chance
I fly
of
with a Browning
to death with the 225 we have in the boarding party than
The one that says
actually killing somebody with
the one that says West Germany.
The West German 225s. What do they hold? Like single stack 8 rounds of 9.
So, like I said, if we're going to be using round pistols, either get me a 44 Desert Eagle or the God's fucking caliber 45 1911.
45 is terrible caliber.
I see like a fishing vest growing on your, just like an NRA baseball cap.
You don't need that Tupperware gun. You just need a 1911.
Sell that
American steel.
Sell that nickel-plated sissy pistol and buy yourself a Glock.
45 is the worst pistol caliber, to my mind.
Yes.
So, question for Jack though, since he's one of our juniors. What are the common complaints from the JR's mess?
Officers get away with everything. POs blade us for literally everything, and nobody else does their job but us, and we're the only thing keeping the rig on the road.
Officers do not get away with everything now, though. Like, they are like more hunted, I would say, for like all the stuff in the news. These days.
Maybe like flag officers.
Well,
I mean, the XO of Ethan goes at home.
Oh, I mean, that's true. Yeah. Well, but the thing is, and this is a hot take, and you guys might get some flack from it. So that very rarely happens in my mess anymore, and it's because if it happens, you're going to be taken into a corner and just the living fuck kicked out of you.
as you should.
So,
Yeah, it should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Of course. Yeah. Everybody here I know is like cool with that.
See,
Yeah.
my only point of opposing here is that we always get the we're the only ones to do our job. There is so much bullshit work officers have to do that you guys don't see, and it's all in front of a fucking computer. And we fucking hate it. And not to mention, navigating a ship sucks.
Oh no, I agree. But so the way that we always view it is this: is I'm not really sure how to properly put this. So it feels like we do all the work, but we get absolutely none, especially in my tree, we get none of the recognition.
Mm-hmm.
So don't get me wrong, people should be recognized for doing things, right? There's a lot of great officers out there that do a lot of really good things. They should be recognized for it. So there's a joke in the MSE world where stokers don't get coins. They just get more work.
Well, I told you at the range what my thought on that is. You shouldn't be rewarded for doing your job.
Exactly. And
The people who do go above and beyond, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've known quite a few engineers on my ship that did, because they were just outstanding.
Yeah.
But I hate seeing it's so-and-so did an excellent job doing his job. You know what your fucking reward for doing your job is? Getting paid.
Yes.
You don't need validation.
Oh yeah. The only time I ever saw engineers get formally recognized was when we were literally running into a fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's Mark trying to say?
So I think that's a flawed mindset, and I hate that. I agree. Everyone should do their job. It's just it's the unfortunate reality that a lot of people don't do their fucking job. So,
Yeah.
and that's our PER system, our appraisal system. It's oh, you cannot put anything about your normal job on there. It's all the barbecues you were in command of and organized, and all the parades you put an op order together. It's those are the things that make you a good officer and move up the ranks. It's no, this guy, how about all the good work he did on his deployment, the mission success that he had, and went above and beyond in his job. And it's to recognize someone that is capable, a capable leader, competent and good at their job, and would excel at being an instructor, a senior guy in this career field, right? I think that needs to be recognized more, and we need to stop looking. It's oh my god, that guy can speak French, right to general he goes.
Yeah, and I agree and disagree at the same time. You're absolutely right that there are enough people in there. The problem is that we don't do anyone justice or help ourselves by pushing those people along. The fact that I haven't even done or you guys haven't seen the new performance program yet, have you? Because it's this year.
Pace.
So that's gonna be interesting. Our old one, which was called personal evaluation reports, the system became so broken that to get anywhere with it, everyone skewed the numbers to the highest possible, and that was just normal. So it's you couldn't really tell who the people outstanding were. And we just had this track of moving people along, which really doesn't help ourselves.
No.
If someone's a bag of shit, they shouldn't be promoted. Because what happens? You promote this bag of shit, people around them that are doing a good job see this, and they're well, what the fuck?
Well, that's a problem with the military in general. Promoting bags of shit just to get rid of them.
So that's why one of my hot takes there that a lot of people fight me on is that everyone in the military should be an NCM first.
Yes.
Oh yes, I would love that.
the PER system is broken because like it should be that, you know, like you evaluate someone, you put them all together, and you're like, okay, let's see who the top candidates are, and then you pick them, and it's like, wow, look at these guys, like they're all the ones next for promotion, right? But before they even write the reports, they already sit down the board and they pick who is going to be the top ones, and then they reflect the points to make them the top ones, and then everyone else has to be
Hold on, Toss. I swear to God, that statement fills me with fucking rage.
Yeah,
Because it's like who kissed more ass.
exactly, right? So it's like someone who did like do an amazing job that year, they won't get the points reflected in the columns because they have to be middle of the pack or bottom of the pack just based on the way they're ranked, right? And it doesn't reflect their actual performance. I think it's ridiculous.
And this is another one that goes back to what I was saying there about what was I saying there about how we reward people for just doing what's expected of them. So there are things you could reward people for. And one of the ones that always crossed over was you'd have PERs come up that were like, oh, so-and-so volunteers their time at a completely unrelated thing. I'm like, that's great. That has nothing to do with their job. That is something you do an award for. So-and-so volunteers their time to this organization on top of all the work they do. That's when you give someone an award. But
the only problem I have with awards, and again, I'm sorry, I'm coming after our officers again. I'm trying not to do that. But if you scroll through like the awards on the Canadian Forces app, like who's getting an award for what, you have like a corporal who saved a heart attack victim's life or something like that, or like dragged somebody out from under enemy fire somewhere in the world, getting the same award as a major general that just did their fucking job.
Yeah, oh no, that's not a hot take. That's just how it is. Because when you get to a senior level, they try to give you as many awards as possible to bolster your portfolio. That's the reality of it, and it's not fair. Well, absolutely.
I just think of it as like a bunch of rich old dudes at a country club just patting each other's backs and like
stroking each other's cocks.
Yeah, it's
like the Legion, but worse because
the Legion's not military anymore. It's mostly. I love the fact that the Legion keeps trying to say like, oh, we're veteran run. It's like, no, like 90% of you are civilians now.
Yeah.
The people who actually went to the Legion as military have all died, and you guys are incredibly resistant to allowing new military people in and make them feel uncomfortable at the Legion.
It's like a LARP club for military veterans.
Yeah,
like, if you're LARPing as a military veteran. I know there's a LARP for everybody, but that's like a weird one.
Yeah.
And then the fact that they go after people who use the poppy. Fuck you guys.
Agree.
Yeah.
Wait, they fucking what?
They sue people that try to use the poppy. They're like, it's our trademark. No one else is allowed to use it.
It's a fucking plant.
Yeah, especially if veterans like a veteran-owned company, you know, like these veterans like started up this company in Ontario, brand new, and they had the poppy in their logo. It's like veteran-owned, and the Legion sent them a cease and desist, or they're coming after them with legal action to stop using.
Oh yeah.
So if you want my advice to any Canadians that are on here, shun the Legion.
Actually, do you mind if I plug somebody here?
Yeah, sure.
So Blackbird Industries has a new poppy. It's based off the heroin poppies that a lot of the guys saw in Afghanistan. And it's like tweaked just enough so it's like not the Legion design.
Yeah,
but
perfect.
They are selling it because they want it to kind of represent the modern veteran.
Yeah. Where does the money from the Legion poppies go? So answer that afterwards.
I have no fucking idea where
it goes. It goes to their fucking country clubs where they play darts and drink Coors Light.
It goes to
producing
and purchasing their Legion medals so that they can pretend that they.
And their lawsuits against other veterans that are actually trying to use it for good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah.
So, sorry, continue.
No. Did you know there's actually Legion influencers?
Are you fucking serious?
This is you can fucking Google this, man. There are Legion influencers. They have like swag with like scarves with poppies on it and shit that they sell.
For any Canadians on here who, if you go to like a Remembrance Day event or something, the way you can tell if someone is a veteran is their medals will be on the left. If you see a guy with a fuck ton of medals and they're all on the right, that guy has only ever been a part of the Legion and not the military.
Christ.
His right side.
His right side.
Exactly.
It's
the operational medals are over the heart.
Yeah.
But that whole company needs to just be dissolved, built from the ground up.
So I got a topic to bring up.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So Nathan, I sent you those links.
Oh, those made me so fucking mad.
I'll let you read.
Oh no. Okay. Contractually obligated, however, criminally underdone lately. We have not talked about the institution of fat shaming. No, the institution of the fat people industrial complex and fat shaming in general lately. And this made me so mad. You should talk about because I can rant about this.
So for those of you who may have caught a glimpse of me in some of Nathan's posts, because we go to the range often, I am not a slender man. I am a heavy man, and I am working to better myself. Go to the gym, do activities outdoors, stuff like that.
Yeah, you're built like a football player. That's what you have.
I'm still heavy, and I'm working on me. But that's me. That's my battle. That's not anyone else's battle.
Yeah, he's literally a linebacker.
I actually was a linebacker.
That's why I'm saying it. I'm not making that up.
Anyways, I saw this article there about actually
two.
Yeah, there's two, but it was one because. Funny enough, it actually linked to Fox because Joe Rogan was bitching about it. Because Joe Rogan, being a fit man that he is, hates when he sees shit like this. So I'm just bringing it up. These all come from the University of British Columbia.
Oh, God.
Here's the title of the article. You don't need to know calories to be healthy. And I'm not going to go into it, but here's the big 4 points about why calories can be harmful. Aside from, boosting your cholesterol, giving you heart attacks, making you a fat piece of shit, it doesn't do anything. It diverts your attention away from eating what pleases you. It prevents intuitive eating. It gives a false impression that certain foods are unhealthy because of their number of calories. It can be triggering for those with disordered eating habits or eating disorders. Effectively what it's saying is that because you're reading calories, you may make a better decision than, you may get a double cheeseburger instead of the fucking super Big Mac. But it's like, and then it goes, I got the intuitive eating. So once again, from University of British Columbia. 1, reject the diet mentality. 2, honor your hunger. 3, make peace with food. 4, challenge the food police. Discover the satisfaction factor. Respect/feel your fullness. Manage your emotions with kindness. Respect your body, which is ironic. Exercise. And by the way, when it says exercise, it's like go for a walk, do this. You know what? If you're getting any physical activity, it's good. And I'm not going to say these are completely out there. There are some little tidbits in there that are actually good, but most of the stuff they say is wrong. Like, and then honor your health through gentle nutrition. Effectively, what it's saying is that there's no such thing as bad food. All food is good food. And you don't have to diet. You can eat whatever you want, and you'll sort yourself out. You'll know what's good for you. And that's like the liberals saying the balance or the budget will balance itself. No, there is a modicum of self-control required to actually lose weight. The fact that this is aimed towards students at the University of BC, who, as we all know, because we've all been a student at one point or another, students aren't living a healthy lifestyle, especially in university. No. You're stationary for most of the day, studying. They're probably eating poor foods because they probably don't have time to actually make proper things.
And they're definitely hungover.
But saying that you can eat whatever you want without repercussion, you don't need to do a lot of exercise. Going for a walk will do this. And all this other bullshit is like the exact thing I think people keep saying about the institution. They want you fat, lazy, and dumb. And now they're justifying you can be as fat as you want. It's okay. You have found what food works for you.
I'm going to pull a Lucas, and I'm going to give BR a little bit of work.
Tickle.
Your local journalist.
Tickle.
From the trees. Corporate media is the enemy of the people.
Tickle.
They are the enemy of the people.
Just to be sure,
tickle.
Your local senator.
Tickle.
I don't care what party they're part of.
Tickle. Tickle.
Your local elected official.
In Minecraft.
No Minecraft here, sir.
But in all seriousness, like I see stuff like this, and it's like it's no wonder that the journalists and politicians have become the most hated. I don't want to say caste, but like caste of people, because it is entirely just shit like this. I don't understand the end goal of. Because that is entirely like institutionalized and academic, and it is spread in so many places. There's no basis in reality other than like feel good about your shitty decisions. Feel good about your shitty decisions. Consume more. You wonder why the obesity rate's like 40% of people? Well, there you fucking go. We can't solve that problem, so we're just going to make sure people feel good about it instead. Sorry.
One of the things about intuitive eating is like eat when you feel hungry, which isn't absurd. Absolutely, if you're really hungry, that. But then they go on to say your body was not designed to go long periods of time without eating.
That's fucking bullshit.
Yes,
fucking
it was.
That is what fat stores are. Fat stores are there. So if you are going through a period without eating because, food is scarce or whatever, back to our caveman days, you had a fat supply to keep you alive and energized until you can get your next meal.
Yeah.
Yes, we were designed that way.
Have you ever watched Alone? Like, that's exactly what they do.
And the reason why people are so fat these days isn't just because of food, but it's because your body is preparing for a famine that is not coming. But because you just keep shoving food down your fucking gullet, you're getting huge without the actual part that makes it go away, which is the famine. Now, I'm not saying go out there and starve yourselves to death, but I'm just saying your body is actually designed, because our bodies are intricate things that were designed for survival. And modern society has ruined that. Fuck, I hate it, but
Just
I love
like-
that I side with the Unabomber.
Yeah. Just like a dog
Mason
who like
Tech
scarfs her food down, like the brain doesn't know when it's going to be fed.
No,
next.
not at
Like,
all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like we
it's
are
whole-
creatures of habit.
So I actually have,
Yeah.
have a weird take on like why obesity is a big problem.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Heart attacks. Hot
So-
take right there.
I think there's like, because let's be honest, the Navy is not fit.
No, fuck
No,
no.
fuck no.
Into the military
And
is
our,
fucking
and our
general.
senior leadership does very little to promote it.
Yeah, we do like a run like that, like everybody walks and like like every like 2 weeks something in the summer.
Anyways.
And actually, what the best one was first the Admiral Stubb said, "All right, guys, just make sure you're not smoking when you're walking."
Seriously.
Oh yeah, that happened. So biggest thing is stress, and I'm not talking. I'm talking about like just a healthy general kind of lifestyle. We're under, just because of like and this is me, just my thinking. I'm not an expert on any of this.
Hold on, that's number 7, man. Manage your emotions with kindness.
So
It's all here. You
So
got it.
I actually think that's actually not a bad thing, because like I am in therapy. I'm just gonna be straight up. Therapy's wonderful. Took me way too long to get into it.
normalized therapy.
Normalized therapy.
Yeah.
Don't talk to the VAC. They'll tell you to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Actually.
Oh fuck. We'll get into that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Tickle.
Your local VAC employee. Do it now.
they don't tolerate
Tickle. Tickle.
against their personnel though. That little blurb pops up. But like
Oh my god.
stress is, I think, a huge factor towards like people not being healthy anymore. And you can blame it on a lot of things, and like I'm not sure if they're true or not, but like literally we can watch literally anything in the palm of our hand anymore. Like if you go to Live League, you can watch like about 50,000 like fucking execution videos. We're watching the war in Ukraine kickoff live. We're watching like these fucking idiots that keep shitting themselves, threatening to nuke each other. And not even that, just like the fast pace of modern society, like we're expected to work, 12-hour days of just go, fucking go. And then just like eat McDonald's, collapse, and then fucking do it again in like 8 hours, right? Especially in the Navy. Like I've gone, I don't even know how many like hours, like 30-hour, 40-hour days, just trying to keep shit running. And it's just caffeine, nicotine, and hatred a lot of the time. And that's not healthy.
No.
Like
That's all watchkeepers on the ship.
oh yeah, exactly. And you will see like even the guys like me that like, worked out a lot and all that kind of stuff on deployment.
I just have one point. So the nicotine thing is really fucked up on ships, because like a smoker wants to go on break from watch, it's typically acceptable, right? They'll go,
Oh, yeah.
they'll have their smoke break. If someone just wants to go to get air, they're told to stay in their fucking seat and do their job.
That's fucked up.
And so now you're encouraging people to smoke.
Yeah. Oh,
Exactly.
I actually started smoking
Back to you, Jack.
I actually started smoking in the Navy again just to kind of get myself some sunlight, because I would go sometimes 2 weeks without fucking seeing the sun, especially if I was on night watch. And that's the other thing. A lot of us work inside these days, and we're not getting the fucking vitamin D we need. Like I had a image tech in my last deployment who was also a kinesiologist, and they explained it to me. Like we're actually meant to wake up with the sun, and the vitamin D that we ingest triggers our adrenal system that actually makes us get through the rest of the day, right? Now it's like wake up in the dark, drink coffee, and just fucking go.
It's so
Yeah.
fucked up. It's not even just your job. So my job, I'm in a fairly
Oh, you guys are just as bad.
but like not even at sea. Like my shore job, we work in a fair cage at our headquarter building. Like when it's middle of winter, I can show up to work in the dark, go to work, leave work, and it's dark. Never seeing the sunlight.
Yeah.
And that's a shore position. So it's so bad for the fucking techs on board because they're so busy fixing shit.
Yeah, we do not get enough. And so that's what I think, like, being kind to yourself is being. It's not like You
No,
know,
I was being
no,
facetious with that
Oh
one.
no,
but-
I know. It's more like being kind to yourself is like, okay, make sure like you have time to do the things you enjoy, right? What do people enjoy doing? A lot of times people enjoy doing active shit, like taking a walk, as you said, walking a dog, going surfing, hunting, fishing,
Going to the range.
hell, like going for a bike ride. So yeah, be kind to yourself. But like we are dealing with such an obesity problem and like such a like tiredness and stress problem, I think, and especially in the forces, it gets like fucking compounded. Like you see guys have been
Well,
for 10 years.
think about when you
fucking
sleep,
rotten.
right? There's no quiet sleep on a ship. It's all machinery noises all the time.
Oh yeah, how many times I've woken up to a helicopter landing like 2 decks above me, right?
You wake up for those.
I used to. Now I can sleep through everything except the fans going off.
It's kind of shitty. Like I'm kind of thankful in my job now. Like since I'm working a desk job for a bit, that I'm able to go to the gym like during working hours, and I have a manageable schedule, Monday to Friday, right? But like being on operational squadron or being on a ship, like you are so busy and you're working such long days that by the time you finish and you get home, like you don't really have the opportunity to go to the gym, or you just don't have the energy.
Well,
And
you
make
don't-
it
You
difficult.
don't.
You don't go to the gym. You don't make food that's good for you. You just decide to fucking order. I got rid of all those like DoorDash, skip the ditch. I got rid of all those because man, it was just way too easy to be like, fuck, I don't feel like making something. I'm just gonna order something in. It's like
I would, when I was operational squadron flying, like I'd be anywhere from like 2 to 3 weeks away at a time, and you're eating out every day on TD. So you're just eating like shit. You're drinking a lot, like in location, right?
that was,
Drinking when you're deployed is fucked.
I'm actually amazed the Navy hasn't got rid of booze yet.
Yeah. My deployment. So I did an impact deployment, and we were dry there because we were in Kuwait. But that was like the best shape I had ever gotten into because I chose not to eat the fucking fried chicken every day, and actually just ate chicken salads and worked out. And we were only flying every other day, but like we were there for 3 months, so I finally got in shape because I was not allowed to drink.
When I was deployed on the Asterix, I actually made a conscious choice not to drink while I was on that deployment.
Yeah.
So, first port I flew into, had some beers with the buddies. After that, I was dry for the 2 months. And, like, I lost, like, 30 pounds on that trip.
You did, actually. You look great
That's
at it.
awesome. Yeah.
But here's the thing, like, so the deployments that we're doing nowadays are often like COVID deployments. And the thing is, on ship,
Wait,
there's
COVID
not-
deployments?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
you can't go ashore.
you can't go short, or like you
You
can
can
go
now,
ashore, but
though.
only like to a certain extent. Like I was in the Baltic in like, or in actually northern Norway in November, having to drink beers outside because I wasn't allowed to go inside and enjoy them. I had to wear a mask.
Yeah.
So, also, you want to talk about like lack of vitamin D? It maybe like we had 4 hours of fucking sunlight up there at the end of the deployment. So we are not really provided with a lot of other outlets except getting really, really, really fucking hammered on board.
And what you've done, I got a little bit on that.
Yeah, like when I was deployed, I was probably in the best shape I've been in a while because I worked out like 3-4 times a day. But as soon as we hit port, like I would crush 15 beers in the mess and walk out straight. It was fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I got really messed up in a European country, and ended up
Nondescript
like-
European country.
Like, redacted.
Redacted.
Yeah, it just some people know the story, and I ended up like in my rack, almost choking on my own vomit because I was working till I ended up staying back to help the boys out with something, and then I missed supper because of meal times. So I went out of town with an empty stomach, and we'd been in sea for 2 weeks, so I just fucking went hard. And yeah, like I got into some serious trouble. Like, you know, the guys thankfully woke up, you know, got me cleared out, got me fucking the bathroom, threw out all my, you know, like shit, you know, got me changed, hosed me off and all that kind of stuff. But like, I could have if nobody like paid attention, I could have legitimately just like choked my own fucking vomit.
So, and this is why
fuck.
I'm actually
Yeah.
amazed Navy hasn't removed alcohol from ships yet.
Yeah.
And not just because of stories like that. And in fact, on one deployment, it wasn't alcohol, it was drugs, but it was still kind of this started off drinking.
Jesus.
A guy died because he went back to his hotel room and choked on his own vomit.
Jesus
Fuck.
Christ.
It was one of the officers.
Yeah.
But also, a lot of the sexual assault cases that are plaguing the military, particularly in the
All
Navy
booze.
right now,
All fucking booze.
alcohol is almost 100% involved in every single one.
Yeah.
Furthermore, other units, so like Mark there, Army especially, when they're deployed, they're not allowed alcohol.
No.
And so CJOC, which is Canadian Joint Operations Center or Command has always been on the Navy's ass about letting them drink, right? They're like, why do you guys get to drink? Now, the counter argument is that we host diplomatic functions on the ship. But, like, I can't see in, like, the next 5 years, like, I can't see booze being on the ships past that.
See, to me, I kind of disagree with it. Because, like, if you want to treat people as adults, you got to treat them like adults. So if they want to enjoy a beer, let them enjoy a beer, right? However, the thing is, I don't think we're treated like adults at all anymore. Like, we're not. We're not fucking treated like adults. Yeah. And, like, it comes to the point where, like, an OD, like what we call like a no hook, will have a good idea.
That's the lowest rank in the Navy for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, and
I appreciate that because I had no idea.
And some master will go in and be like, "Shut up, we're doing it this way," even though that way might not be a good idea, but it's just how we've always done, and we have to listen to that guy. And like that's why a lot of my generation, I think, is leaving the military, is because you have some very smart, very intelligent, driven individuals. I'm not one of them. I'm a fucking idiot. But
you're smart enough to get out, though.
Yeah, I am smart enough to get out, right?
Yeah.
Well, fuck you too.
Yeah. I see, like some of the most smartest, ambitious, like want to like get in there and legitimately join the Navy to help people kind of guys, and they are the first to get broken.
Yep.
And it's horrible to see because if these guys were given the right environment, they would thrive. They would change them. They talk about the word change in the military and all that kind of stuff. Let those guys fucking run free and do their thing, right? Like, I don't understand why we have to put people down just to make yourselves feel better.
Because the Navy and the military in general just attracts people that are looking for power, much like police forces.
Amen.
And once they get it, they're just, which is why our recruitment system where we're promoting these ship pumps is just awful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, on the topic of acting like adults, and this is not NCM, NCO, or officer specific, this is everyone. There's been a lot of chances for people to act like adults, and they haven't across the ranks. So, example, when we've had the 2 beer policy when ships have deployed, and people abuse it, and like I said, this is not aimed at any one of the ranks. This is all ranks, and they abuse it. And then what's the military to do, right? They give you a chance. Someone fucks it up.
I actually have a hot take on that.
Shoot.
Yeah,
I believe the reason that people don't follow those restrictions is because pretty much all faith from my ranks has been lost in the higher ranks.
No, and I get that. And this is the problem starts at the seniors, and this one will actually aim more at the chiefs and POs and the officers.
You can come at the
this one's aimed at them because they have to be the leaders and set the example. Yeah. However, if there is an order that's like you shall drink 2 beer, and regardless if you've lost face or not, like if you disobey the order, which in this case there's a reason behind it because they're fucking tired of guys getting drunk in foreign ports on these deployments.
People need to decompress,
but hold on. But if this is the order, like, and you abuse it, then you have effectively not acting like an adult, right?
Yeah.
I know. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I'm. Oh yeah, look at you, boozy. As we all crack beer.
I don't have beer, so I'm drinking scotch.
So my point being is that, especially on the now tax-free deployments, when those are the orders and you're getting paid to that to follow those orders, which are not unlawful in this case.
Yeah.
Like, you have to act like an adult and follow them.
I agree. No, by the way, I'm 100% agreeing with this.
But on the flip side, like, man, I have a great story from...
but here's the thing. The flip side is, and, like, this is my perspective. I'm not saying I'm right, and this is the perspective of
no one's right. No one's right, no one's wrong.
Yeah. But from the junior ranks perspective, we are always held to the standard. Nobody else is. Like... on my last deployment, it was only junior ranks charged with anything, right?
No, and
any officers that did the same shit or POs that did the same shit or worse shit.
Bullshit.
Yeah,
that's the bullshit about it because you need to be hammering the senior dudes.
Yeah, for us, and we see that, and we're just like, well, if they're not fucking doing it, why the fuck am I getting blamed for this? And a lot of the times, the junior ranks we're really good at policing ourselves because we have no problem walking up to somebody and being like, you're fucking up right now, buddy. Like, we are really good at policing ourselves. At least my crew has been, right? Like, I'm not saying
look out for your buddies, right?
In the first one now.
Oh shit.
You know what? I'd say one of the problems is like there is less officers than there is enlisted, right? So they tend to be like a tight knit group, and they do look out for each other in that aspect. But there are people you have to avoid. I think same goes with junior ranks as well.
Yeah.
It's just there's so many people, and like there's such a divide between the ranks sometimes that they like as soon as someone catches wind on it, they're like, oh my god, charge that guy, pass it down. And then as soon as that paperwork gets started or like that shit ball gets rolling downhill, you can't stop it, right? But like I'm sure if someone fucked up and you went to like your supervisor and you said like, hey man, I fucked up, like you might get rid of this, and it's like, okay, like a lot of people are gonna go out of their way to like try to throw you a bone and maybe help you and not immediately go, oh, let's charge him.
And that's
some crusty fucking warrant gets a hold of it and they try to get you charged. Because I've had like crusty fucking warrants try to charge junior officers as well.
Fuck.
But it's just a shitty dude,
That's the other side of the fence, though, is that the people that are so detached from the fucking ships and the air crews and whatever, who have no situational awareness.
Oh yeah,
trying to influence things that they have no idea about.
Yeah. It's like no one likes you. Yeah, we get it, and I now know why. But you can just be an asshole and try to fucking charge and make everyone's life miserable.
This will fall into another thing. A couple stories. First off, I want to say one of the good things about the military is the odd way you can run into friends.
yeah.
Like I remember I met Mark. So years after the last time I saw him, I met him randomly in the fucking Northwest Territories. Of all the fucking places, a bar in the Northwest Territories. I'm like, oh, hey, buddy. But,
where was that again?
That was in Yellowknife. That was at the Black Knight Pub.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, man.
That's what happens when there's like 100 soldiers total in the entire Canadian military.
This is going to flow into kind of the overall theme. Is from my time as an XO and now, I found the NCO or the NCMs typically are pretty good. Really good guys. A lot of smart people coming in too.
I agree. I'm not one of them, but I agree.
Well, you're probably smart in your own right. There's book smart, then there's other smarts.
Dunning-Kruger effect. Dunning-Kruger effect.
But anyways, I have found a sharp decrease in the officer corps for quality. And Mark, I'm not sure if you've noticed that too. And this leads into a story that I first told back on my first podcast with Nathan. And this one was about, we had this guy, two guys in our platoon during basic training. Both were Indian. And one guy, like, fully...
Oh, I love this story.
One guy, like, fully accepted Canada, loved being in Canada, and, like, Indian. Like, yeah, from India.
Shit! I can't make that joke. BR, please cut that out.
But
like from India.
I was like, which India?
I'm allowed to say that.
Not Indigenous Canadians.
Yeah.
Both.
Okay.
Isaac here is Indigenous. I'm very purposely making a racist joke in front of him.
Yeah. I'll skin you later.
You fucking bigot.
But, anyways, so both of these two had immigrated to Canada from India. One had kind of really embraced the Canadian culture and all that. The other guy still kind of held on to attributes of the Indian culture. One being the caste system. So anyways, when the guy that he perceived of the lower caste is his time to be in charge of the section, this guy refused to listen to him, saying, blah, 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 you can't do that. And then would like try to order him to like maintain his shoes, do all the shit he's supposed to be doing. I did look him up. He is not in the military anymore. By the looks of it, he's not looking.
Hopefully, he's in a hole somewhere. I don't know.
That's fucked.
So there's a course called it used to be called Naval Environmental Training Program Officer. That was an absolute booze course. That was like your introduction to the Navy. No one ever failed that. He failed it. That's how much of a piece of shit this guy was.
It is hard to fail. Like,
I mean, I know people that failed like our NETP, but it's because they panic in the fire room or something like that.
Yeah.
Wasn't this guy
some like hard courses that people do fail, but then there's like the 100% pass courses, and like some people fail that, and you're like, wow,
what the fuck? And Homeboy was like, he was an academic of some kind. He was like, he had a PhD, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he did. He did have a PhD. He was a completely useless officer. Whoever recruited him in should be shot.
Actually, tickled.
I know what I said.
You know how bad the no fail culture in courses has been. So I took my boarding party course, and it was with NTOG. NTOG is the Naval Tactical Operations Group. They're kind of like our Navy SWAT team. I didn't say special forces. I said SWAT team. Okay.
Yeah, we can acknowledge that SWAT is not a very well trained.
But
I
what's
would
funny
not
is-
trust them to shoot the guy holding me hostage. You check any SWAT story in the news, and they're like, "Oh, 2 hostages were killed," and if you get into the police report, you could see that they were shot by SWAT, not the hostage
They
takers.
just say Porta Peak, Fire Hall.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Fuck. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
How do you shoot up a fire hall?
BRCMP.
Idiots.
Oh,
RCMP.
RCMP.
Yeah.
Give RCMP guns and set them loose, and they'll either shoot the fire hall or the indigenous.
Hey,
Now, do you want to hear something
Steve.
scary? You'd think that in the pilot world, there's there's a good level of attrition, right? People failing course, but there is a lot of no fail mentality with certain individuals that have been recruited, and they make poster people out of them, right? But there is definitely a bias in certain individuals making it through, and a lot of people I know have been pushed through that should not have. And it's not necessarily because they're from one group or another. They're when I went through, we lost I think 40% of our course on phase 1 and another 40% on phase 2.
Holy shit.
And then by the time you make it to phase 3, you're
Yeah, but
pretty
no.
golden. But after that CO left from the Big Two in Moose Jaw, this other guy came in, and he was such a yes man to the generals and everything, and reporting to Winnipeg that he always wanted to hit his numbers. We hit our recruiting numbers this year. We had made this many wing pilots, and he was normally if you went to a progress review board on flight training in phase 2, you were fucking done. If you got to that point, they may look at your stuff and okay, he didn't use any extra hours or anything like this, and they might give you one more shot. But if you make it to the PRB, your flying career is over. With him, he was given people 2 PRBs, and then this one guy was from Jamaica, and he was such a shit pump, and he was failing everything, and he was getting in trouble out in town and everything. And my buddy was his instructor, and he said to the CO in his PRB, he's do not pass this guy. He is a terrible pilot, and he deserves to be kicked out. And the CO said, "Oh, well, I mean, he's from this country, but he moved here 15 years ago. And when he knew he was going on PRB, he would put on his native accent from that country to pretend he was not Canadianized. And then the CO would hear this, and he'd be like, oh, well, he's still adapting to being in Canada. Let's give him one more shot." And then he pushes him through, and he gets to the operational training unit, and we're like, where did this piece of shit pilot come from? He is, and then even I've seen people even pass all the way up to aircraft commander course, and then as soon as they hit it, they're get him the fuck out of here, and they just throw him a bone so that he doesn't lose his wings and send him to a ground job.
Well, I just want to point out, he may have been a bag of shit pilot, but goddamn, is that man a genius? He knew how to
Really,
game that system.
If it was any other person, it was this one guy, and he would admit to people, he's like, yeah, I could have helped this guy out and sent him to this plane that he really wanted to do, but I had to hit my numbers, so I sent him as instructor to Moose Jaw. And it was someone that was close to me, and I had heard this from a friend who was flying with this CO, and that person was like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. You were given that aircraft frame to give to that person, and you fucking threw him under the bus just because you needed to hit your numbers. Anyway, that created a huge problem because he was CO for a long time, and then we were getting all these pilots to our operational training units and putting them on these courses, and we're like, what the fuck are you guys sending us? These guys are trash. And a lot of them are making their upgrade. And we're like, okay, off the ground jobs you go.
Dangerous, man. That's dangerous.
It is dangerous, honestly. And it eats up resources, especially when you can only put 2 people through at a time, because we're so limited by our resources and training people on these platforms that it's a waste of 6 months of training this guy. You're like, wow, we could have fucking put a good pilot through there, but we've lost 30% of them because Moose Jaw keeps sending us trash. But a lot of these places, we don't want to deal with the PRB and then the grievances and everything, so they just squeak them through and they pass them on. They're like, oh, phase 3 will take care of him, and then phase 3, oh no, the OTU will take care of him if he's really that bad. He can pick it up there, and then we're what the fuck, guys?
That happens from basic onwards. They keep passing
goes
the buck.
all the way from the start. Some of these people should never have made it through phase 1 flight training, and you look at them now and they're like a poster child for a certain aircraft. You're like it's like this is what we're getting. It's like some of these people I would never trust my life flying in the back. Like you have to ask yourself, like, would you put your family in the back of that aircraft with that person in charge flying it? And some of the times I'm like, hell no.
I mean, shit, I see that in my job, like guys where I'm just like, holy fuck.
Yeah, well,
Right?
your job's desperate for anything. They'll take a fucking anything with a pulse at this point.
And even without,
The whole like Chernobyl analogy is coming back.
Yeah.
It's like, oh well, we had to hit our numbers, so we
Exactly.
did this, and like it's every single level of it. It's
Nathan,
like,
I'm going to
now,
ask you.
I kinda-
When you were in,
yeah.
did you experience any of this, or have you seen any of this?
No, I mean I saw shit pumps and we got shitty gear, but I didn't see it to the level that you guys talk about.
No,
I
I
mean,
mean like
we went through
with your
together at the
officers
same
and NCOs too, though. Did you like seeing really good ones, really bad ones?
Yeah.
Guys that were just memorable.
Yeah, but it seemed like the average overall compared to what I see now.
Every
It's better.
instructor in
Yeah.
Aldershot was memorable when they weren't policed on what they could say.
Yeah, like by and large, and Mark, we did 3 courses together at Aldershot,
Yeah.
and I remember by and large our staff were good.
Did
They
you guys
were
have like a
all
pillow
awesome.
fight in your
Minus
gear?
one that you
Yeah.
drew the comic about
Yeah,
Fucking-
minus that
with
one.
the
he was a
2-letter
shitball.
name there.
Awesome.
That
Yeah.
piece of shit.
Yeah,
God, he was an asshole.
he's a
Fuck
fucking
that
dickhead.
guy.
You didn't
He had like a weird he had a weird Claymore fetish. No, I didn't hear what you said.
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys have a pillow fight in your gear?
I did not partake, but yes, I remember that.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but I now I hear from like across the board, everyone that I know, like whether they're doing basic, whether they're doing whatever, everyone has nothing but negative things to say.
oh yeah, like
Yeah.
I keep in touch with good buddies that I know that are from like here to fucking BC. And this is Navy, Army, Air Force, everybody, right? Everything sucks. Everybody hates their life and everybody wants to get it.
So
Yeah.
another one, just back to that retention brief that we talked about earlier in the podcast. Something I forgot to bring up that actually is quite a serious issue is that they brought up pay a lot because
Oh fuck.
no, but this one it actually hurts because it's coming back to that decade of darkness business where
Yeah.
there's our lowest ranks, the privates and the sailors can't afford to live in the places we're posting them now.
I know
with the pay.
Yeah.
There are people that when they get their paycheck at the beginning of the month, they literally have to put 90, if not all of it, into rent. And it's like, and when people were asking, like, literally, what are we doing for these people? They had no answers. And to me, the fact that we've shut down our barracks, we've got rid of our private military quarters, and we've done nothing to put in housing. And granted, I get housing is a crisis all across Canada, but for the military to have sailors and soldiers have to do fucking second jobs to afford to live in the provinces they're supposed to.
Sleep in their cars,
There was-
fucking hit up food banks.
Like I mentioned in another podcast where they told them to check out Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
So
And
It's
they're
like, check
asking
it
how
out.
many are going to the food
But-
banks. Yeah.
the major general that was giving the brief said that people don't leave because of money. And I found that was
Fucking
outrageous to say because
yeah.
you know what? Maybe not all people do. Other people may leave for other reasons, but pay certainly is a driving factor, especially when people know they can go to other jobs, get paid more, or
Yeah.
choose where they live.
Living
Because if they can't
security,
afford
man.
to live in this shithole of a province,
Yeah.
it's like, which really does not deserve to be as expensive as it is.
No, not at all.
Thanks, Ontario.
It's like Isaac, you make like a fair wage. I mean, like,
Yeah.
and it is hard for you or anyone to really live
For-
here.
for
It's
what-
so fucking expensive.
For what I make, and that's even with 42% of my pay docked for taxes,
yeah,
I'm still making a very good wage compared to most other people in
Yeah.
this city. But even still, it's like I see a good chunk of my paycheck go to bills and just living in general.
yeah.
And I can only imagine what the poor motherfuckers who make less than me in the forces do to survive.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not good. Feet pics are involved.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Like I have like this idea that would fix this, but obviously it needs to go to Treasury Board, and that means it'll be completely denied. So it's never gonna fucking happen. But like the PLD needs to be revisited. But like having someone live like when I got first posted to my last squadron 8 years ago now, like I had a house and I bought it and I had a mortgage that cost me $1,300, right? Plus utilities. Now that I came to my current spot, I couldn't afford to buy a house. and I now rent an apartment that is smaller than that, and I pay double what I was paying for my house back in my last base. But like, imagine someone who is like a fresh private. They did 2-year posting, and right before the housing boom, and they had an affordable rent. Their wife had a job, and then they didn't want to get posted, but because they had been there for 2-3 years, the career manager said, no, fuck you, you're getting posted anyway. And you now go to a city that you cannot afford, and your wife had to start again on a new job or couldn't even find a job. And these people are literally like, they're at mercy's end just because the perpetual posting system, whereas they could have just left him in that base to do another job there, or kept him in the same job, right? Like, if you ask, like, they need to stop posting people for the sake of posting them,
Yeah,
Hey,
Oh, you got to
freaking
move
men.
for someone else to do this job, right? But yeah, you just fuck this person's family. And like, they're like, oh, well, you get paid more than the average person in your career field in the military, so you shouldn't be complaining. It's like, the average person in this career stays in the same spot for 30 years, and they've had the same rent or mortgage for that time, right? Usually.
They've paid off their house. They've settled
Exactly.
in. They have support networks.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'm just saying, but millwrights, which is kind of like someone in my job, Civvy side, are getting paid $42, $52 an hour out in the oil sands right now.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Exactly. Now,
So
Guess where I'm headed.
Yeah.
So we had a saying on my old ship there that it was time and tide, because it was from an old quote that time and tide makes us mercenaries all. Because
I like that.
eventually people get so fed up with what they're doing that they'll just do it for the money. And that's kind of the case with the CAF right now.
Yeah.
So if they think money won't solve the problem, then they're completely ignorant and putting their hands, closing their eyes and going, la, 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 I'm not hearing the problems.
You know what?
Yeah.
Hot take. The old culture of the Canadian Armed Forces has died, and everybody here is just in for the paycheck, or so they don't get charged.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, like I'll be
I'm
honest.
gonna
I
paycheck for
like
sure.
when I joined because it was like raw. Like, oh yeah, I want to chase pirates and see the 7 seas and all that kind of stuff. And
A lot of people do.
oh yeah, and like I mean, a lot of people still want to do that. And okay, the military is full of just like a bunch of fucking lost boys and girls, of course, right? Like I was talking about this.
Don't be bigoted. You got they thems as
and
well.
them.
they thems as well.
You beat me to it. I was going to say, and everything in between.
Well, in fairness, I do work with some like wonderful non-binary trans like members, so I should probably throw that in. But like we are all a bunch of fucking like lost souls, and that's what I think it drags everybody into the Navy, because like everybody I know has a weird fucking backstory of how they joined the Army, the Navy, the Air Force.
They were lied to.
Yeah, well that too.
Yeah.
But like just everybody is just some of them are just the most wonderfully weird human beings that I've ever met in my life. And unfortunately, the whole like kind of like traveling sailor that sees the world and has some stories and all that kind of stuff, and you step up to the bar and you're the most interesting guy in there. That's not happening anymore. We're sitting in shore offices. We're hating our lives. We're stuck on ships because we can't go ashore. We're not, doing or seeing anything. We're doing off-read insurances, but we're just sailing around fucking circles doing exercises on a deployment, or in Latvia fucking running around LARPing. Like, there's no, like, I did a good job today. I affected things, and I, helped the world somehow anymore.
I'm just going to step in there. For our listeners there, so off-read assurances are kind of shake our fist at Russia and show that NATO is still present.
Shake our fist. I was waving at the Russians.
But the thing about it is that when you're part of those NATO task groups, you are constantly exercising.
That's
So-
up north, yeah?
That's the
Up
focus.
north, down south in the Med,
So
like everywhere.
it depends on where your task group is, if you're part of 1 or 2, or if you're in the Pacific. But point being is that if you're a part of 1, you're normally constantly doing drills day in, day out. And so it is a constant bag drive.
It's fucking exhausting.
On my deployment, we did that for the first half, and then the second half we were fully operational, where we were doing classified things, and it was probably the best sail I've ever had.
Oh, when you're
because
real world ops,
no
oh my God, yeah.
no one fucks around during real world ops. There's no drills, there's no anything. It's just everyone's doing the job, everyone's standing their watches, and you sleep when you sleep, you work when you work.
Yeah. Like even my trade, who like kind of keeps isolated from what's going on, even when it's real, like we feel better.
Yeah.
Like everybody's like, we're in this shit together. we're working towards a common goal. It's not just that, oh, there's a quote unquote ship over there and we're going to quote unquote attack it. It's like, no, there's something over there. We're going to go fucking see what it is. We're going to like, rip this data off them or like whatever the fuck we do. I don't know. I'm a fucking knuckle dragging Brad Turner, right? And then for me, it's like, I want to hear what the opposite room is doing today. I want to see like, okay, are we going to run quiet? So maybe I got to secure my shit. Like real world ops really gets everybody's fucking motor going. Like it reminds you for a brief fucking second why you joined the Navy.
So I have another good story. I'm not sure if you guys saw in the news today, the formation chief.
Today being December the 6th, 2022, this will not come out today.
This article came out on the 2nd, and I was already reading it today. There was a symposium for survivors of military trauma or military sexual trauma. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was.
So this was run by or supported by the Department of National Defense, and I think it was being run by It's Not Just 20K, which was this civilian organization. Anyways, one of the Canadian military survivors who spoke up talked about her incident, and after she brought it up, they went to a break. The chairs of this symposium left their microphones on as they disparaged her, questioned her story, said she was a problem maker, and one of the people involved in that was our formation chief. And the salt in the wound of it all, though, was that after no one spoke up, the victim had to speak up and say their mics were on, and then after that, they tried to contact her to see if she was okay after disparaging her publicly in front of all these people.
So, unlike the retention brief, they should have switched their mics off.
They shouldn't be disparaging survivors of sexual assault. First and foremost,
I know, but it's just kind of ironic that they keep fucking up. Like, should the mics be on or off?
So, I'll be curious to see what the outcome is for the formation chief, given that she is a female, versus when we have had incidents of male chiefs who have said lesser and been removed from their posts.
So I'm going to just...
a female chief?
Yes.
I'm not going to say anything here because this is a very slippery fucking slope.
Oh, do it. Fucking do it.
No.
There's the individual who made the news because they got sent home from the MCDV HMCS Kingston that was like at a NATO deployment, like being inappropriate, and they repatriated them. But so they're being held to the same standard as like if it was a male person, because it was a female on this aspect, and it is unproven right now. Like they are innocent till proven guilty. They shouldn't be guilty till proven innocent, which is the mindset of the forces, which I do not agree with. But
or if you're alleged stuff, you're just guilty.
Well, we all know you did something.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he must have done something. But
my counter to you, Mark, though, is that there was the case on my ship where a female individual was going around grabbing the genitals of males.
That's exactly what this person apparently was doing, like the old dick grabbing.
She did this 3 times, twice in one port. She got told to stop doing it. Then she did it again in the next port, and was very forceful.
Oh my God.
When she got sent home, they were removed from the ship, but then they were placed onto another ship, deployed, got promoted, and were still allowed to continue their career as per normal. Now, I guarantee you, any male that was going around grabbing the genitalia of a female would be blacklisted, if not in jail. Flash forward. There was another case, two officers of the same rank. The male was charged with assault because of groping and attempting to kiss this female. Both of which were drinking. Both of which had no idea how they ended up in the position they ended up in, and the male accepted full responsibility for it. Now, I looked at the court-martial reviews for both of them. The female who did this, who actively engaged, had been warned off, and was still insisting on doing it, got a severe reprimand and a $3,000 fine. The severe reprimand is a joke because she had already signaled her intention to leave the forces And then the $3,000 fine, both her and her spouse had just completed tax-free deployments.
Yeah.
So the $3,000 fine was nothing.
Just for reference, that literally means we don't pay that 42% income tax that everybody does in Canada for like however long we're deployed. That's by the way, that's a fuck ton.
Not to
That's
mention
good
the taxes
message.
on any of our benefits either.
Oh yeah.
So what happened to him?
So the male, who arguably, while still bad, but was in a state that neither of them were really sure what was going on, got charged a severe reprimand and a $5,000 fine.
What?
Yeah. Arguably, the female's case was worse because not only had she been warned, she was actively seeking it out versus the male's case.
Yeah. It's terrible. Like, if alcohol's involved to that level, like, it's kind of like some people will like use it as like a defense. Like, they're like, oh, well, you know, like, he forced himself on me or she forced herself on him because, and then like they try to use it as a defense mechanism. You know, two people got drunk and started, you know, fraternizing.
Yeah.
But it's rather than, you know, just both live up to it and accept that it happened. But
by the way,
I mean, like there are obviously instances where that stuff does happen, but
Anyways,
it seems like
all to say for what I was just arguing there was that though one was more egregious than the other, the male was still fined more and given that severe reprimand and he was staying in the forces versus the female case where she'd already signaled she'd left. So the severe reprimand means nothing. And the $3,000 fine when both her and her spouse knowingly both completed these deployments with ludicrous amounts of cash. If I were to do it, as the judge, I would have done a dishonorable discharge because that follows you.
Yeah. Sorry, did she try to use it as like, oh, he forced himself on me?
No. She knew what she was doing, and she wasn't drunk when she did it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like there's no equality in that justice system there.
So that's why I'm curious about the formation chief, what's going to happen with that one, and the Kingston case. And I think the Kingston case may be worse because she was in the executive officer position.
Yeah, and at a NATO function, literally like doing these alleged incidents to foreign visitors as well of other countries, and the two ships that were there. So that was a spicy one.
Yeah, actually, the thing is, and like this has come like from like I don't know if you guys remember I was referencing relations between NCMs and officers and POs and all that kind of stuff. When this kind of stuff happens and like the perpetrators get off really easily, it definitely sets back relations and feeds into what I was talking about. Like the perspective is that we're the only ones held accountable. We're the only ones do our jobs.
Yeah.
By the way, that mentality is not something I necessarily believe in and all that kind of stuff. I'm just telling you like what my wingers are talking about in the messes.
And all this stuff bleeds into what we're talking about with retention and everything else. So, lads, as we are coming up in 2 hours, I'm curious as to what you think, because my take is very cynical. I think the entire thing is rotten inside out.
Yes.
And as with all bureaucracy, anything is also innately like tied into politics. Nothing will fix it. Everything's fucked. Yeah, screaming into the void. Everything to do with everything tied into the political process is fucked forever, and there's nothing we can do to fix it. But I'm curious as to what your guys' takes to even like help possibly fix morale and retention would be.
I got a really good one.
Yeah.
Okay. So bear with me on this one. So first, what we got to do is everybody Master Sailor and above gets issued whips and like thigh-high leather boots, high heels, stiletto, right? Everybody, below that gets gimp masks and like assless chaps.
Okay, hold on. All chaps are assless. Stop saying assless chaps. They're already assless.
Okay, specifically just chaps, but there's nothing under the chaps, right?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And so what happens is the NCMs are going to be like the submissives and everybody else is the doms. And everything will get done really fast because if not, like the whips come out. Everybody's enjoying what's happening at the same time. The whole thing's just a fucking like dominatrix dungeon, like the whole ship is.
There's a ball gag on the bow.
Exactly, right? And everybody just has a grand old time. Things get done efficiently.
Everything's sticky.
Yeah, everything's sticky. I mean, it's worse. You're eating your food out of a dog bowl and all that kind of stuff. But the thing about it is like the absolute fucking psyops on like the Russians and Chinese. If they see like a bunch of like fucking leathered out guys on the forecastle coming at them, just getting fucking beaten by somebody with a whip. They're gonna jump overboard rather than fuck with those guys.
Or they'll join the ship.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, and then that's just more fucking recruitment, and then everybody's happy. We're gonna get some weird fucking recruits, but they're gonna do exactly what they're told, unless they're a brat, and then like they're gonna be like, make me, and then like they're just gonna get beaten harder, and then like, ooh, I'll do it. Just reconstitute the forces. It's a whole fucking. It's just BDSM is our fucking.
Right.
You don't even have to pay him anymore.
That is so woke of you. That could actually happen.
BDSM, Roger.
Okay, what about you, Isaac?
No, we're gonna go to Mark.
Okay.
Oh, and all the clerks are financial doms.
Okay, serious. To be serious here, like things to fix the forces, like. Obviously, there needs to be a massive correction in pay. We need to get readjusted for inflation like we do every 4 years, but I don't know why it takes so fucking long. But on top of that, there needs to be an increase in pay across the entire forces to make up for this stuff, right? Like, we need to make it attractive. Like, it doesn't need to be just a bit better than the civvy sides, like, because you also deal with, like, deployments, being away from your family, facing violence and stuff, and that needs to be accounted for. So, there was rumors that hopefully there's like a 10 to 15% like calf-wide pay increase, but no one will ever admit to that because Treasury Board hasn't probably heard it yet, and they would shit a brick when they see it. One thing that Belgium does and a couple other countries in Europe, you get equal time off for deployed days away. I know that doesn't really work with us right now, especially with sailors. Like, they'll come back from one deployment and they're like, "Oh my God, we're short a deco. Like, get the guy from that last ship who and send him on this one." And the CO signs a waiver for him without even asking him. But like, if you do 4 months away, you get 4 months of time off, right? Like, if I got that, I would deploy all the time because you get that time back with your family, or like to do whatever you want. Other things. We need to bring like more fun back into it. Like, our culture is dying. We need to like embrace the culture, and it's like, yeah, some things do need to change, but like we need to stop being afraid of letting people have more than 2 drinks or whatever. Like, people need an ability to decompress and do things like that. We need to invest more in kit. Like stop buying Canadian bullshit. Buy something American made. Like the new search and rescue aircraft that we got, the Kingfisher. What an absolute piece of shit. That should have never have made the procurement. It should have been the Hercules from the beginning, but just due to the Canadian procurement process, the Lockheed Martin looked at it, and they looked at our Hercs that we already have now, and like, they weren't allowed to consider that they have simulators and infrastructure and maintenance already in place. They had to submit a new bid with brand new stuff and not even consider that was there. They took a look at it and they're like, "Oh, for what, fucking 20 aircraft? Like, it's not even worth it. We know how much of a shit show the J model Hercs have been in Canada already," and they pulled their bid. So we completely lost the best aircraft right there. Now we got the 295, and it's not even going to be ready till 25, 26 because it's such a massive piece of shit. And people are already actually like looking at it to see what else they could do with it, and then sole source something else. So that's a massive failure in procuring stuff. So we need a better procurement system. We need more funding for equipment and to take care of our soldiers. We need increases in pay and cost of living, housing. And then the last thing I would say is we need to take care of our soldiers when they're done. Like, Veterans Affairs needs to fix their shit. We need to go back to the old thing where they're compensated monthly, not just lump sum payments, and having to confirm by a doctor's note that your leg is still fucking blown off from an IED every year. Like, things like that. So we need to take care of our people getting in, while they're in, and after, and make it an attractive job again. And we need public support as well. And it all comes down to that. And when we're blasted by the news every single week, we don't get that. So it all comes down to like foundation. Like, there's a lot of things that need to be fixed to fix these problems, and it's going to take a long time.
You're a disabled veteran. You can't get the help you need to, get up and down your own stairs. Why don't you kill yourself?
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
exactly. Have you tried MAID? Like, are you
Yeah.
fucking kidding me?
Yeah. What does MAID stand for again?
Medically
Medical
Medical
assisted
assisted
dying.
in dying. Yeah.
That's
You'll be cool.
retarded. Oh my god. It's the 6th leading cause of death in Canada now. That's
Yeah,
fucked.
that is fucked. Yeah.
What,
Yeah.
made?
And
Yeah.
there's
Okay.
justifiable things for that. Like I have a buddy whose uncle had like a severe disability to the point where he was on couldn't even feed himself or and was having trouble breathing, and he opted to take MAID rather than live his last 5 years just suffering by
Yeah.
himself. And it's like that's what that was meant for. It's not to be like offered like on the phone like, well, by the way, like if you have PTSD and you're considering blowing your brains out, we could do it for you so you don't leave a mess for your family. It's like, what the fuck are you even offering that
Actually,
for?
I know a veteran, and I was kind of talking to him about it, and he was like, "Yeah, honestly, guys, there was a low point a few months ago where I would have fucking taken that option if they'd offered it to me." And I'm like, "So they're offering vulnerable people this option as if, and what the fuck? You're supposed to be helping these guys get through this shit, and it's possible to get through this shit. They're not
Yeah.
doing it.
And as of recently, I believe you don't have to have a physical ailment anymore.
No.
It could be for people
And
who are.
that's
You know, here's
ridiculous.
some
They
really
still
fu-
consider like PTSD as a physical ailment.
You know,
And,
here's something really fucked up.
I know. Sorry, go ahead.
You know, I hear something really fucked up. It's a civilian guy, but this is on global news.
Yeah.
So he's living on the poverty line, and he's disabled. He can't work. So his rooming house is being sold, and he was going to get tossed out on the street. Right? This is a housing crisis. So he was actually applying for MAID because he knew he wouldn't survive on the streets.
That's fucked.
That's fucked. Did they
That
do
is
it?
so fucked.
I don't know if he did it, but it was approved by his doctor to do it.
Yeah, I remember seeing
this
that.
is a global news thing. You can anybody that's watching this can fucking look this up.
Also, CBC talked about the benefits of the healthcare system and how much money they're going to save with MAID.
Holy fuck!
I mean,
This
Yeah,
is what our
yeah.
current
Yeah.
government has brought us to. It is we
Yeah.
are living in such a fucked dystopia of a
You know how
society
many,
right now.
you know how many people
It's
I know that are
so
losing their
broken.
fucking houses?
Lots.
Yeah,
Lots.
it's like the whole slippery slope fallacy we found over the last few years is real.
Yeah.
It's absolutely real. And now, a few years ago, and I think I would rather commit suicide than spend my last days gasping for breath in a puddle of my own piss.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, as expected with government, they will make everything as unethical and fucked up as they possibly can.
Especially
this
ours.
government.
You're my good friend. If I remember that say, you fucking tape my gun to my wheelchair, you push me into the fucking police station.
Oh, 100%.
You all need to be tickled. Tickles for everyone. It's called.
I know I'm kind of divulging off topic here, but
You're fine.
just to touch on that MAID shit, our medical support for mental disabilities and mental health in general is so fucked. I had a crewmate who he was ex-army and he had severe PTSD and he had reached his breaking point and he was in the Air Force now, right? But we deal with such stupid shit that it drives you to the breaking point as well, and it makes crusty people. It is not the grass is a little greener on the Air Force side, but for different things. But we deal with the same problems as the Army and the Navy. And he had gone into the MIR and he went to the doc and he's like, I need to fucking talk to a psychiatrist ASAP. I'm gonna fucking blow my brains out. And the doc at the time was like, oh well, there's a 4-week wait. We have you on an emergency thing. There's nothing we can do. You have to wait 4 weeks. So he was like, fuck this. He drove into the neighboring town where they were going to send him, and they said there was a 4-week wait. And he went into the front office and he said, I need to fucking talk to someone now. I'm having a crisis. And they got him in literally that day. And then on the warpath, he went back to the MIR and barged in and went to the dock and just started screaming at this person. And it was like, you fucking lied to me. You said it was 4 weeks. This is so fucked. I could have killed myself by the time like 4 weeks came around. And I literally went there myself, and they got me in that day. And it's like that's how much they literally care about their members. Anyway, fucking the next 6 months after that, you had to show your mill ID at the MIR entrance to make sure that you weren't this person, so you wouldn't go barging in to the doc's office and berate them. But
Christ.
like that's the reaction we get, instead of like having an emergency place for these people to go, they put a commissionaire that's 80 years old at the entrance to the MIR to make sure that you don't go berate a doctor.
Actually, I have a funny story about commissionaires.
Go ahead.
So we got a lockdown notice when I was an OD. I was up at the school. So apparently what happened was Halifax, or the place that we live, police department was chasing a armed robbery suspect, and they ran into the dockyard past the fucking commissionaires.
I walked past the commissionaire and he was sleeping in the booth.
At them? I don't know.
For the American listeners, which are most of you, commissionaires are essentially usually older geriatric security guards hired by the government.
Unarmed.
By the way, they don't have guns.
But they also don't have guns to usually guard military bases.
Yeah, they have literally. They have 911, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I'll rage about commissionaires next podcast I'm on.
Yes.
Yeah, we used to make it a
I
joke.
want to be a part of that because I have a lot of stories about those guys as well.
Yeah, we used to make it a joke when we came back to base. If the commissionaires were sleeping in the little booth, like a bunch of drunk sailors just pound on the fucking thing and just shove our IDs up against the fucking glass. They'd be like, what's going on?
Yeah. We used to see like what we could get away with driving in back at some bases. Like a lot of them like were too old to come out and make the trip out to the car to verify your ID every time. So they'd just see what you'd hold up, and people would just be like start holding up credit cards or just holding up their hand. One guy was coming in, he had a piece of toast that he was eating, held that up, and you just see the old guy looking, give the wave like, yeah, you're good.
Oh my God.
Costco receipt's the one that I got in with.
No, yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's awesome.
I got in with a dental appointment card once.
That's amazing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Anyways, Isaac, closing thoughts.
So my plan to fix the military?
Or anything, whatever.
So Mark already touched up on a lot of the stuff about pay, so I won't touch on that. Housing's a big one. Bring back the barracks. Bring back the PMQs. Make living an actual option for young sailors, soldiers, and airmen that need a place to stay in these cities that are no longer affordable or tenable now. Equipment, absolutely. War fighting mentality. We gotta stop. Yeah. We gotta stop with the fucking diversity culture fest that we've found ourselves in.
Yeah.
The one thing that I think everyone here can agree with, one of the most unifying things is work up for deployment. When you and everyone else, and Mark, I'm not sure if you're the same as ours, but I know for the ships, nothing brought a ship together more than the adversity of working together against sea training.
Oh, man.
And not that sea training is the enemy, but during that time they're on your ship, yeah, they become the enemy, and you're working as a team to beat them.
The post-EMSR parties are fucking wild.
So that's another thing we got to do. We got to bring back that warrior spirit, that fighting mentality. The training has to be applicable. You got to stop sending people on these courses that don't do anything. If the course needs to be 6 months because there's that much content, very well, make it 6 months. If it's 6 months because it's always been 6 months, but it's only 3 months worth of content, cut the course down so people can get trained faster and get home to their families faster.
Exactly.
That's actually a huge problem in my trade.
Fat.
Yeah. My final thoughts. So normally I do the you're responsible for yourself, and you still are. To my officers that are listening, take care of your troops. Your troops are more important than any colonel or above ever will be. They're the ones that are going to get the job done. They're the ones that will take care of you when you need it most. My NCOs, same goes for you. But as an NCO, you also have the duty to take care of your officer. You know, I know we joke about officers a lot. A lot of them are under a lot of stress themselves. A lot of them are still kids. A lot of people don't realize this. A lieutenant, Army, a sub-lieutenant, captain, or lieutenant Navy, they're still probably mid to early 20s, right? They're still kids. So you got to watch out for them. For my NCMs, you guys have to kind of hold the line, unfortunately. But if you want better officers, if you want better NCOs, you need to nurse the people that are coming up. You can either be a dick to junior officers, and all you're going to develop is a guy that's a dick to you guys when he's a senior rank.
I am so for this because I see it so fucking much.
So nourish them, teach them, talk to them. That's the big thing for all my military listeners. Talk to each other. You're all human beings at the end of the day. And when you're done, the military will keep on marching on, but the friends you actually do make, you will keep once you are out. My final point is dissent is going to be required if we're going to fix the military. And I don't mean an outright mutiny. But I mean, you need to voice what's wrong. You need to start going through whatever channels we have to start sending up our complaints, our unsatisfactory conditions, our equipment malfunctions. You need to be vocal about it now. We're now past the stage where being civil about it is no longer working. If you want the senior ranks to know, you need to make it known. And I believe one of these cases was a mutiny. The main guy report, that was a mutiny that actually caused change, and it wasn't a violent one.
I don't even know this story. I have to read into this one. We got to talk offline after.
Effectively, what it was a sit-in. The junior ranks said enough. They didn't go to their post when the ship was supposed to leave port, and that was it. And like to the NCOs and the officers, without your juniors, you are nothing.
Yeah.
You will not win a war without them. So dissent is going to be required going ahead to change this. And that is going to be my final point.
Yeah.
I wish I had actually had
one more final thought there.
I like yours. I think that was my favorite. Just turn them into sex
I'm
clubs.
gonna go get my Kellogg's cock cave.
Mark, you were saying?
Yeah, there's one final thing I wanted to say that Isaac had touched on there. Like a lot of the times, like officers are the youngest. Like 9 times out of 10, I was always the youngest person on my crew as an aircraft commander in charge of everyone, taking them across the world into combat zones and stuff. Right.
On my first ship, I was the youngest officer in charge of everyone on board in the middle of the night. I was the youngest person on watch.
Yeah. I was, like I said, almost always the youngest person, and everyone's looking up to you, right? And you have to look out for everyone else too. But like for just like the junior officers as well, they're in charge, and anyone in a leadership position, like no one is gonna ever remember like the amount of dick you suck to try to get above everyone else and get ahead and put your family aside to do back-to-back deployments for the forces. Like at the end of the day, like when you leave, no one's going to remember you for that. So always keep your family and your friends and your loved ones in mind first, and don't ever let the job get to that point where you start making them second and losing those connections. Like at the end of the day, when you leave and you're retired, like if you lose those people in your life, there's nothing really to work for then, right? So always keep those people in mind and keep them first. And including the people you work for too, like always have their back as well.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Anyways, for me, my advice is not going to be military related at all. It's going to be pay attention to what you eat, reject corporate media, normalize
Tickling.
politicians, officers, police, basically any authority figure. Just throw a
Peace pipe.
into their tent while they're not looking.
Yeah.
And other than that, just be true to yourself and reject modernity, reject authority. That's all.
Yeah.
And,
All right. Do you have to...
Isaac, you got one?
Yeah, my final point. Disregard social media. Pay attention to what's actually happening around you.
Exactly.
Agreed. And buy a Keltec KSG. Also a Chris.
Oh, yeah, buy a Keltec KSG.
Also
and an AWS belt. I got a new AWS belt, and it's the best thing ever. I love my AWS
Dude, isn't it
belt.
fucking dope? Like,
is
we're
fucking
going to have an ad
awesome.
read other than this. This was not planned, but yeah, I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, buy AWS. Okay, bye.